Welcome to the Flawed, Foolish and Fantastic podcast.
Waheguru Ji Ka Khalsa,
Waheguru Ji Ki Fateh.
Thank you for coming on to our podcast, The Flawed, Foolish and Fantastic. Flawed and Foolish is me and Bhai Kamalpreet Singh. We are here to learn from yourself, Bhai Harman Singh, who are fantastic for our guests today. One of all, before I start, for everybody who's listening, Bhai Sahib's been up since like 4 a.m. He's took a flight, he's done Katha. So we've put him out today, and I really appreciate that he's come on and made some time for us. I don't think I'd be able to refund the offer in any way or reimburse you for your time, but I just want to say
you already
thank
have with your love.
No, I just want to say thank you very much for coming on. And the reason for the podcast, like I said, Flawed, Foolish and Fantastic, has been set up to talk about the individuals who are doing some really, really good work in promoting Sikhi through various different ways, whether it's humanity, prachar, whether it's through Seva, through all sorts of different manners. And I've been listening to your Katha for some time. Whenever I can find some recordings, I'll steal it and keep it for myself, and I've got it. And especially when you used to be in Seattle, I've been listening to your Katha, and obviously since you've been on Instagram, and as an old man I've found Instagram, I've been able to follow yourself as well. And the work that you've been doing with Basis Sikhi, and that's what I really want to do. We promote Basis Sikhi as an organisation all the time, but the Sevadars behind it, they also need some light shed upon them, so people can realise the hard work, the difficulties that they've had to endure to get to the position they're at. I know through Nimrta you're going to say, no, I'm not, whatever, that's your own Nimrta to say that. But I'd like people to know who Bhai Harman Singh is. And for that, if you're happy, Singh, can I crack on with some of the questions that I have?
Yeah, indeed.
The first one, as always, is possibly the most difficult one, but it's about yourself and who is Bhai Harman Singh?
So that's a very broad question, Vijay. Who is Bhai Harman Singh? My wife laughs at me when I try to call myself this. I call myself Keeda Harman Singh again. Because my master actually, he had his voice recording when he was younger.
Okay.
And so whenever I would call him, he would say Jaswant Singh Urf Agyani, right? So I was like, I love that, right? कि अपने आप ने अज्ञानी कहना ते निम्रता दे विच रहना हमेशा शुरू तो सिक्खिया सीगी. So am I. I'm just a boy growing up in Canada. Went to school, studied sports medicine, and was trained in the army for a little bit, got inspired, and wanted to do Seva for the Panth and try to make my Guru happy. That's all I'm trying to do.
No, that's fine. Right. You've given me enough there to carry out about 10 questions. So, first of all, I'm going to ask, tell me about your childhood background and, when were you born? Where were you born?
So year-wise, I was born in 94 in Calgary, in Canada. Parents, just like I think 95% of all the parents that are in Canada now, they immigrated legally and illegally to Canada. And my parents were born there. Or not, they were born in India, but they got married in Canada. And I was firstborn son. And so when I was younger, I think because of the hardships, I was sent to India for about a year. Okay. Lived with my Pua. That was at 1 year old. Okay. And then I came back when I was 2. So for about a year, lived with my Pua in India. And then just, doing regular sangat. My dad, actually, he used to do Kavishri. Okay. And he spent time with a lot of the Singhs and the movements during those times as well. And then he left it after marriage. And so we used to see my dad doing Kavishri at the Gurdwara Sahib all the time. So that conversation about the Panth and getting involved in the Gurdwara was just always a topic at hand in our household. Dad used to tell me stories where Harpajan Maan, the Punjabi singer. Yeah. So like this is before he became like a big hit singer. They said he used to do Kavishri. Okay. And my dad and his buddies, they would always get more time in the Gurdwara than Harpajan Maan would.
But he wasn't happy with that.
Yeah, he wasn't happy with that, so obviously he became a singer or whatever. But my dad uses that as a story, like, look, I'm great, bro, great son. So, thodiyan cheeਜ਼ਾਂ ਦਾ ਮਾਣ ਵੀ ਹੈ. So conversation about Seva has always been in our family, and I feel blessed to be able to, be a part of that family Sikhya. So shuru de vich vi, my dad always taught me Gurbani Santhya shuru to hi. It's always the focus was kare Punjabi bolani. ਤੇ ਗੁਰਬਾਣੀ ਦੀ ਸਿੱਖਿਆ ਲਾਗਾ ਮਾਤਰਾ ਕੋਈ ਗਲਤ ਨਹੀਂ ਹੋਣੀ ਆ ਤੇ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਨੇ ਬਾਬਾ ਰਾਮ ਸਿੰਘ ਦੀ ਸੰਗਤ ਕਾਫੀ ਕੀਤੀ ਆ ਟਕਸਾਲ ਵਾਲੇ ਸੰਗਰਾਵਾਂ ਵਾਲੇ. So they would ask, they would tell me stories like Baba Ram Singh Ji when they would hear a pangti being or lagamata wrong,
Yes.
then they would go like,
Yeah.
right? So
Maharaj says, "Mere ang partanga."
yeah.
Yeah.
And so that because of that, my dad was super strict on us, and my dad would almost like feel so hurt internally
Yes.
when my brother and I would say a pangti wrong,
Yeah.
or even a lagamata wrong. So the emphasis on Shuddhacharan was very, very strong and throughout our childhood. I don't know if I live up to it, or I'm still trying my best, but I'm blessed to have that sort of Sikhi and that culture created around us when we were growing older.
So how many siblings have you got? So you
Just
mentioned
me
your
and
brother.
a younger brother.
Younger brothers.
Yes.
So yeah, growing up in household, you talk about obviously your dad being a Kavisha. I'm guessing with his role within the movements as well, you would have heard stories that would have energized your faith and
Hanji.
Reinvigorated any sort of doubts you had, thinking, we always hear the stories about the Guru's time, Guru Kal de vich kinniyan shahidiyan dittiyan singa. But obviously you would have heard things closer to home, which you would have gone, what if they died doing this, or they suffered such enduring hardships? Then
I mean, when you're young, you don't really think about it that much. You just know that uncle's cousin was a shaheed, or this is a shaheed parwar, or this is a shaheed parwar. So as a kid growing up, you just like play with their friends. It's like, well, your chacha's a shaheed, right? Yeah, my chacha's a shaheed. So, so it was just normal growing up. But no, I remember just in our household, you just have pictures of Singhs, right?
Yeah.
Like so you have Sukha Jinda, you have Sant Jarnail Singh Ji, you had all these pictures of these things. My dad really like decked out our living room with these. So when growing up as a kid, you're always seeing them, and even though you've heard their story once or twice or three times, or maybe you go to Gurdwara class on a Sunday and you hear their story a little bit more, when you come home and you see that picture, it just becomes a daily reminder. So that becomes like a pagati in the sense as well, that you envision that. That's why it's really important to have those sort of posters at home rather than
that's what it's. We always have role models elsewhere, but to see the role models within our own form, within the Gursikhi form,
yes,
it encourages you to remain within that form.
Hanji.
That's a massive thing. So growing up, okay, that was your one of the questions I was going to ask you was, what was your link to Sikhi growing up? But we'll cover that. You've already covered that anyway.
Yeah.
But so tell me about, obviously your family seems very good, very strict within Sikhi. How was your education? What was your education like? Did you have any hardships during that?
Schooling, education, or do you mean like Gurmat Vidya?
No, both. Both external schooling as well.
High school and stuff, typical. We get into a very Punjabi high school, right? There's all the brown boys there and all the Gurdwara kids there at the same school. So it was good, right? Growing up, internally, I always was that weird kid that I wanted to. I don't know where it came from. I wanted to talk about Guru Nanak Dev Ji's like history and like stories and stuff, but my buddies around my age wouldn't. They just like, yo, you're weird, bro. Why are you talking like this? So I actually ended up having to make friends with. If I was like 15 at the time, my friends would be like 29, 30 year olds, and it's because I got along with them. I even remember one of the things. We were sitting at their house, and it was about like 9:30 p.m. and my mom's calling, and I said, oh, I have to go. I have to finish my homework. And they're like, homework? Like these things are like, oh yeah, you're still in school. Like they just they forgot how young I was, and so that's why you always have to choose your surrounding very carefully. So schooling, and then after that, university. Actually, while going through university or school, trying to find what career path that I was gonna take wasn't the easiest.
Okay.
Whereas some of my cousins are just like, I'm gonna become this doctor, and that's it. Yeah, it just came out of the womb. That's exactly what I'm gonna be, right? But for me, it was kind of like, okay, I knew I wanted to do Seva, and so I always used to think like, a vision jumping off a kalta with 2 kirpan in my hand, and we used to have at home that picture of Baba Ajit Singh. I don't know if you've seen where they're jumping Chamkaur di Gadi and they're kicking this thing, and they have the arrows in their knees and they're like in their shins and they're just cutting them off. So I had that picture. I just visioned it. I was like, I want to be like my big brother. So I just wanted to do something with kirpana and just like but take that in the metaphorical sense. What battle am I going to be fighting for the panth to take my guru happy? I take the story of Baba Ajit Singh Ji, when Shaheed Hoye, they looked at Guru Gobind Singh Ji Maharaj and said, look, all the tir are in my shatti and on my back. And almost like a son saying, Guru, are you proud of me?
Yeah, exactly.
So for me, my whole, even prachar or seva or anything that we did, we had different organizations that I was a part of way before than the organizations I'm a part of now. But it was always internally just like, I want to make my guru happy. And how do I know if my gurus are happy? Then the sadhus are going to tell me.
Yeah.
Right? The sadhus are going to tell me, both you're doing a great job. So from there, it was like, so a lawyer, because then I can do administrative stuff and fight for the funds through the legal system.
Yeah.
Or could it be through, the medical system, or could it be something else? So then I ended up just pursuing my interest in physical, because my dad was actually ex-kabaddi player as well.
Okay.
So fitness was very big in our home, and my dad trained me a lot, like running up and down hills, or we'd be playing, basketball or soccer, or running around, doing all this kind of stuff. So when it came to that, I went really interested in the physical side of things. And additional to that, I was doing sangat since I was young of Baba Jaswant Singh Ji Bhagat Ji.
Okay.
So health is wealth was their motto.
Yes. Yeah.
So I remember when we were, I think 15 years old, we were at a Singh's house in Edmonton. It was about a 3-hour drive from where I live.
Yeah.
I stayed there with them for about, I think, 3 weeks at that time. And me and this other Singh, we were told to do a jap of Pankti Kabir Suta Kya Kare Jagro Paidok Jaka Basa Gur Mahe So Kyun Hove Sukh. And Babaji laid down on plywood.
Yeah.
And when they laid down, they said, Tusi Bani da jap kari jana jinna chir main uthda nahi hai.
Okay.
Until I get up. So we're like, Babaji doesn't sleep that much, 2, 3, 4 hours, whatever, and they start sleeping, and we're just standing there, and they said do hip rotation, so we're doing hip rotation the entire time. And so we make a tune, Kabir Suta Kya Kare Jagro Pe Dukh. So we're like doing the tune, doing the pankti, and japde ke 2 घंटे निकले, 4 घंटे, 6 घंटे, and bol sukh gaye sade, we were tired, we were dehydrated, and me and the Singh look at each other. He was a little bit older than me. And we're like, Baba ji, and Baba ji, and another karade mari jana, they're in bliss. And I still remember that after 6-7 hours, I think either it was me or the other Singh, we messed up on the pankti.
Right. Okay.
Koi laga matar galt lag gayi.
Yeah.
And Baba ji, like while they're asleep, they like within half a karada, like when half a snore, they're like, "Oi, sutta main ke tu?" And we're just like, "Oh, right, what?" Like, they're actually awake.
Yeah.
They neend vich hoyi ke sadhu kade sonde nahi hai.
No.
So then we continue. I think we've been like 12-14 घंटे Mahampurkha ne utan jap karaya, and just doing like the hip circles. Even when I was younger than that, Baba ji had a squat competition with my dad and his friend. So my dad got to 500 squats, like just without weights, so done 400, 500. The other uncle got to 200, took a 10-minute break, came back, did another 100, still and Babaji still going. Babaji did, I think, over 1,000 squats that night.
Oh my God.
And it was insane to see their dedication to health. They would even sit on stage and they would grab 5-10 pound dumbbells and be doing them for an hour while doing katha on stage. Right? So very, very unique way of just drilling it into our mind that this vessel that we have to take care of to be able to do the simran and the seva that we come into this world to do. So then I guess I decided to go into sports medicine and kinesiology and all of that routine. And once I completed that, then I was in the military at the same time.
Yeah, you mentioned.
Yeah.
How did that happen? So you've gone from going, I don't know where I want to go. I'll go into something to help people. I'll go into medicine, and then all of a sudden you're in the armed forces.
Yeah, there's always this go mentality. And I know those that went to school with me and saw me in Sangat, they're probably looking at me now, Harman Singh, like this kid, because I was the hyper kid.
Okay, yeah.
I was the go kid, and
not like me.
Huh?
No, he's gonna say that's me.
So I was always trying to go, and they actually had a nickname for me when I was a kid. They called me Hero Harman.
Okay.
To get in the Sangat, a couple of my buddies. What that meant was whenever there's something needed to be done, I'd be like, "What the chad ke main kara?" Almost to even show off a little bit. And so because of that, I wanted to do, and my dad told me this when I was younger as well, whenever you go and do something, make sure you're getting sikhya out of it, you're contributing to the panth or something. So if I'm working, I've got a part-time job at Starbucks or something like that, then I don't see myself contributing that much to society or the Panth, and nor do I see myself gaining a lot. So then while in university, obviously everyone's trying to find a job, and I knew this other thing.
Where did you go to university?
When did I get
Where
into?
did you? Where?
Where did I?
Go to university.
University of Calgary.
Calgary. Okay,
Yeah.
so it was local. That's all
Yeah,
right.
local university there. And then we ended up signing up for the army because another Singh I knew who was in the army as well. At the time, before he became the defense minister, I met Harjit Singh Sajjan and Lieutenant Vineet Singh. There's a few others like that. And they came to Calgary for some conference. This is before they became the ministers and all that kind of stuff. And so we sat down, I talked to them, and I talked to a few other Singhs who had joined the army recently, and I was like, you know what, if I'm going to train, I've figured out what it was, what is the commitment to be a reservist, you know, Wednesday evenings and on the weekends. And then during your summers, you would go for 4 months and go train. You would just go abroad to train. So that's why even now, like we do prachar, I'm traveling all the time, but that started way before. When I was just in the army, I would just be staying months and months away from home anyways.
Where did you end up going? Because obviously, were you training actually?
Yeah, so you would go to like Nuneaton. It was a town on Victoria Island, or you'd go to Gagetown or Wainwright. There'd be like these almost like military towns across Canada. Sometimes you'd be training with the U.S. forces as well, because Canada's like America's younger brother, right?
Yeah.
And so with that, I became a combat engineer, and even there, it was always about learning to teach the Panth.
Yeah.
Learning the skills and the things necessary to develop myself to be a better Singh, as a better person. At the same time, you make a couple like part-time bucks with it, and then then you can also use things there. So they subsidize some of the schooling fees as well, because if you're in the army and university at the same time. So university became the fees became a little bit easier with that. Plus I'm getting training, and then after university, because at the same time my career side of things is happening, the Gurdwara Seva side of things is happening as well. It's almost like you're living 2-3 different lives at the same time. And then on the Seva side of things, we were organizing camps, getting involved with local Gurdwara Sahib camps, part of various different organizations locally and trying to do Seva, whether it be with the homeless shelters or the kids camps, or getting youth like charity tournaments organized. So you organize like a soccer tournament raise money for cancer, and you get the Sangha together, and you get a few outside like Monday in as well, so they can become friends and they join Sangat as well. Basketball tournaments, volleyball tournaments. So we'd be organizing a lot of these things. And on that side of things, when I started organizing camps, I ended up having to speak at camps as well, just locally. So that's where I guess Prachar really started. When I was I think about 14 years old. What I would be learning from the Ustad ji, so Baba Darshan Singh Mallewal ji. ਉਹਨਾਂ ਨੇ ਸੰਥਿਆ ਦਿੱਤੀ ਪਹਿਲਾਂ. You also had Gyani Balbir Singh ji, Gyani Jangbir Singh ਉਹਨਾਂ ਨੇ ਸਾਨੂੰ ਗੱਤਕਾ ਸਿਖਾਇਆ. And my dad is still really close friends with Gyani Jangbir Singh. I'm almost like his own son.
They were US based for a long time, Jangbir Singh.
Yeah, so he was in Indiana and Carteret for a while in New Jersey, but I think
Baba Darshan Singh is still there.
They're still in Calgary, Hanji.
And they released the Poti Sahib with the colours, so you knew with the Vishrams.
Yes. Gyani Jangbir Singh at that time, I think they stayed in Calgary for about 8 months. So we came quite close. Gurbani Gurmat Sikhya vi lai te mainly Gatka. So Gatka kheddiyan galtiyan vi kar jadita siga, because we were kids, right? So they would scold me like I'm their own son. So we have a really family type relationship there. ਤੇ ਗਿਆਨੀ ਸ਼ੇਰ ਸਿੰਘ ਜੀ ਅੰਬਾਲੇ ਵਾਲੇ ਉਹ ਵੀ ਆਉਂਦੇ ਹੁੰਦੇ ਸੀਗੇ, ਉਹਨਾਂ ਦੀ ਵੀ ਸੰਗਤ ਕਰਦੇ ਰਹੀਦਾ ਸੀਗਾ. ਤੇ so you have all of that sikhya coming, and at the same time you're taking that sikhya and what I'm learning at home, and you have these kids in the Gurdwara Sahib, and then you're teaching them at these camps. Or sometimes we would actually just sit outside at the front of the Gurdwara on the grass and just have like these candid classes.
Just people coming around, just sitting around talking.
Instead of sitting around talking, and so in that form prachar started happening. Then as that progressed, I started doing lectures at the local university, like SSAs.
That's what I was going to ask you. Did you have any Sikh societies at university?
There are Sikh societies there, but there's always like the Punjabi element of it and the Sikhi element. That's normal across the world. And so we'd have like Sikhi Awareness Week, and so we get involved in that. We'd have Gatka presentations, do a langar, and we'd be explaining there, do a samosa night where we'd actually talk about Sikhi as well.
Yeah. That's all that seems to happen here. It's
Yeah,
just a
yeah.
samosa night every night.
Yeah, and then locally, they would, so from the Gurdwara, they would want a representative for like an interfaith event.
Okay.
So then I would go to these interfaith events and I'd start speaking there. And then at the same time, there would be like other institutions that would come to the Gurdwara side for a Gurdwara tour.
Okay.
And we would give those tours to like, let's just say a Jewish community, a class is coming, or a Sikh studies class.
Or anybody,
or police officers actually. Quite often it's police officers.
Because they have to do that as part of the training.
Yeah, they come over, and then I walk them to the Gurdwara Sahib. I teach them everything, what Nishan Sahib means, what Langar is, Bhog is, why we wear Karpan, and what the Darbar and Maryada of the Darbar is. So we'd be involved in the community a lot like that. I started getting invited to camps outside of the city.
Okay.
To like proper camps and the campsites, and come and speak to us. So when that started happening, and before that, I knew Jugraj Singh quite well as well, because he would come to Calgary and we knew each other with some of the older Singhs.
The only Katha I've put up on Gurmat Vichar is from Calgary.
Yeah.
And when Jugraj Singh used to come there.
Yeah. So we would chat a lot about the Panth. Yeah. And so when we started getting invited to camps, then I remember I was telling him, I was like, in order to do, I listed a whole bunch of problems that we needed to solve, and then the ways to go about them. And then I said, I need to establish an organization to be able to deal with these sort of problems that the kids out here in the West are happening. He's like, yaar alag alag katon karna, aap ikkathe ral ke kar lene hain. Yeah. And I was like, that's a good point as well. And he said, why don't you just start establishing basics of Sikhi, or everything's 13 in Canada and the US. And he just gave it to a 17-year-old kid. I'm like, oh, what do I know here? Mm-hmm. So then I started establishing it again, trying to get teams together, trying to get older people who knew how to set up charities. And I'm like, this guy just gave me all this responsibility and I don't even know what to do. That was the great thing about Jugraj, he just throw you in the deep end. Yeah. And so utte Seva ral mal ke shuru karni kar diti, started trying to establish it. Then as time progressed and as university side progressed, so you have the career side of things, the military life going on, then you have the Sikhi side of things going on, you know? So all of those things, I guess at the end of uni, they just combined, clicked together. And so at that point I was like, okay, I'm either pursuing law school or med school, where am I going after this, right? Or you can continue, I can go into an officer rank into the army, I can continue there, but that wasn't really my goal, because at that point I was already traveling a lot, and every time you needed to leave the country for a camp, I had to inform the military. Okay. That where am I going, what city am I at, why I'm there, and how long I'm going to be there, when I'm going to return back. I had to there was a lot of paperwork. So I was tired of it, so I just applied for supplementary results. I think man jinni sikh learni si la liya. And I was just so busy. I just naturally got so busy, caught up in prachar, because I realized the demand to learn Sikhi was so much. There was so much prachar from New York area to California to the universities there, to Toronto area to Vancouver, to the UK even, to India, to Australia and Malaysia and New Zealand, all of these places where my entire year schedule just get packed. And then I was actually doing full-time prachar for about almost 2.5 years.
So how old were you then? About 20?
Yeah, I was about 20, 21. But I was doing full-time prachar at that point without being officially a part of any organization. Yeah. So even the basic Sikhi guys, they're like, wait, is he a part of us? He's not. Is he part of the Guru Granth Sahib Academy?
Because that's towards British Vancouver.
Yeah. So I was... I linked up with Bhai Paramjeet Singh quite a bit when they were there, and we started teaching a little bit of things that they started. So it was just, for us, it was just free for all. We needed to do Seva for the Panth. And how we do about it, what machine we use, what car we use to get there and try to achieve that was kind of irrelevant. But ਜਿਹੜੇ ਸਿੰਘ ਨਾਲ ਜੁੜੇ ਸੀ, ਭਾਈ ਬਲਜੀਤ ਸਿੰਘ ਹੋਣੀ, ਭਾਈ ਜਗਰਾਜ ਸਿੰਘ ਹੋਣਾ ਨੇ ਰਲ ਮਿਲ ਕੇ support ਬੜੀ ਕੀਤੀ. And it was actually when Jugraj Singh and their family was visiting Calgary when I wasn't there, because I was gone somewhere else on a prachar tour, and they were there. My mom said, Sada Munda, we don't even know what he's doing. Right? Like he's here 4 months out of the year, and thoda naam la dinda hai. Theek hai? And Jugraj is like, oh, I don't even know. And so my parents were worried, okay, kabhi musro bhai kabir ki mai. That whole concept came out. And Jugraj Singh called me. He was like, bro, we need to we need to get you on full time. We need to get you on pay. I was like, oh, I don't need to, bro. I'm living with my parents. I don't know. I kind of like mastana pera. Pagachi kolo jiddan sikhya siga. We were just like mastane, a little bit too mastane, you'd say. Then eventually, you know, the whole system came on. We came full time. I joined the organization officially, and we started doing parchar then on. And so that's how I guess that side progressed. How did
your parents take that? Going, hang on, I've sent you to university, पढ़ाई करनी सी, बड़ी job लेनी सी, because that's normal parents' itcha, isn't it, to make sure that you can stand on your own 2 feet within a materialistic world as well.
Mm-hmm.
Did they not go, hang on, what have you gone to university for?
नहीं पढ़ाई की थी, but there was 2 sides to it, right?
Yeah.
On one side, my dad was super proud of me.
Yeah.
He would even tell me that when he was younger, when me and my brother were born, he would say that I used to do ardas, that I want one son to be doing seva for the month, like in whichever way, you know. But obviously, like you do that at ardas when you're younger, but as the kids get older and kids go start going to university, you kind of forget these things. So my dad was saying like, "मैं भूल गया सीगा, but Maharaj ने मेरी उदों दी अरदास सुन ली है," you know. So that was huge. But for my mom, it was a little bit more difficult because in the sangat it became amongst uncles and aunties, "अच्छा थोड़ा मुंडा job नहीं करता."
Yeah, exactly. That's right.
थोड़ा मुंडा अच्छा ज्ञानी बन गया या, right? And then they would almost say it in a derogatory way.
Because even you look at Nanak Prakash, even in Nanak Prakash when they say, Guru Nanak, to fakiri kar di. Everybody thinks you're only going to fakiri because you're not clever in anything else.
Yes.
Or ਤੁਸੀਂ ਸਾਰੇ ਨਾਲ ਉਦਾਸ ਹੋ ਗਏ ਤੁਹਾਡਾ ਕੁਝ ਹੋ ਗਿਆ ਹੈ. So that's what they think, and in exactly the same derogatory way, that's what they think today as well.
So my mom would actually feel that pressure a little bit.
Yeah.
And but then she would want to know which words to use to try to explain to them. नहीं वो organization है उदा head करता है उदी job ही है.
So it made it sound like a cult.
Yeah.
That's what it is. He's in an organization. We don't know where he is. We don't know what he does. He goes away for a long time. That's it.
Yeah. No, but processing. They knew, because a lot of the Sangat families, when those families that put their kids through school and part, obviously, ਅਸੀਂ ਵੀ ਪੜ੍ਹਾਈ ਬੜੀ ਕੀਤੀ, you know, like days and nights we'd be studying.
Yeah.
But some of those kids ਜਿੱਥੇ ਘਰ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਗੁਰਸਿੱਖੀ ਨਹੀਂ ਸੀਗੀ, when their kids went astray, those families and those parents are calling me.
Yeah.
And my parents knew that, because they would call my parents as well, and they would say, we need to get our kids in touch with your son.
Yeah,
we need your son to help us.
They can see them going the wrong paths.
Right.
And they want to find a good influence.
So out of that love for my brothers and sisters, you know, locally, obviously I would go and speak to them and talk to them. Not that I knew anything.
Yeah.
It was just the fact that ठीक है जिन्ना को उस्ताद ने सिखाया, I'll repeat it. That's really what parchar is. You उस्ताद ने सिखाया, guru ने किया, and you repeat it.
Exactly.
And the vidya doesn't actually come from ourselves. ठीक है अभ्यास विच whatever. Sometimes you experience something. Your experience can help somebody else as well a little bit. But mainly, to be honest, I say ज्ञानी जीव हैं, सानू आप अलग जीव हैं, सानू कुछ पता नहीं है ना. But what that allowed is my parents to become really, really proud. But then they were still concerned on the money aspect. Like, तेरा विआह भी कराना है.
That's it.
Right? घर भी लेना है. We want grandchildren. So it's funny now, because now I'm married. I don't have grandchildren. I have kids.
You're young to have grandchildren.
You know, I have a daughter 10 months old now.
Yeah.
And my mom and dad are ecstatic, right? They feel like they're ahead of the game. Whereas some of my dad actually tells me some of the other taxi, because he's a taxi driver, right?
Where's my dad?
So his they're saying other cab drivers' kids, they're like 35, 40 years old, and they're still not married because they want to, but they're searching for themselves still.
Yeah.
And so he's like, I'm ahead of the game. I feel so proud that my family's established. Donne munde, they're established in their jobs. They're doing their thing. They have their vision. They're capable. Apne paida te khade ho sakde hai. All of that kind of stuff. So it was difficult at the beginning, but because I was just that soldier sort of mentality, bas jo kar rahe ek cheez kar le bas lage rehna hai na, and almost didn't even think about the consequences. We would do it and then worry about things.
Yeah.
So I find it very difficult.
Both feet in first.
Yeah, I find it very difficult to work with people that are worry, talk. 6 months later, it's like, oh, we haven't done anything now, right? For me, it's like, be a little bit aware, look at your surroundings, shal mark, and see everything jo hunda hoga.
That's him. That's him with this podcast. That was him. But that's what you got to do, haven't you?
Exactly.
You start it and see where it goes from there.
Yeah.
No, but that's, so with regards to, you've talked about some of the institutions and things that you were involved in. I just want to ask you, you said you dealt with kids with problems and things like that. And I know you're not mean like severe problems with drugs and things like that, but how...
Sometimes it was drugs
was
as
it?
well, yeah.
I was about to say that. How much pressure did that put on yourself with expectant aunties and uncles hoping that you were going to transfer their kids around? And
Yeah, you know what? I got two stories for you.
yeah,
Okay, one is actually, yes, there was a Singh who was on drugs,
yeah,
and so his parents. What I realized later, his parents, you know, they put him on a flight with me. We were going to go to California, I think, and so there was sangat happening. So we decided to travel there, and so we traveled together, and he was with me and went there. But those flights, I think auntie booked, but I like made her book them, sort of thing. So me and him could go all the way there to go and do sangat, but I knew he was struggling with a drug problem,
clucking, yeah,
and auntie knew that as well, right? But my parents, they had also heard, but they didn't know that my flight was booked and he was coming with me, but they knew that I'm going to California. Once I left, they found out, and so my parents actually got really upset with some of the sangat around there, saying, "Theek hai, our son is," you know, because I was probably 16, 17 at that time.
yeah.
So obviously parents will worry that our son is not doing drugs, but your
you don't
kids
wanna be
are.
influenced by it.
But what if your son influences
Yeah,
our son?
Exactly.
Right? So there was that sense of fear. So they would be a little bit protective in that sense. So yeah, I would sometimes have to deal with all that kind of stuff. Chalo Maharaj di kirpa naal Mahampurkhaਂ ਨੇ ਜਿਹੜੀ ਸੰਗਤ ਛੋਟੀ ਹੁੰਦਿਆਂ ਬਖਸ਼ੀ ਸੀਗੀ, I felt my nishana was very clear ਕਿ ਮੈਂ ਕੀ ਕਰਨਾ ਆਇਆ ਕਿ ਕਿਹੜੀ ਸੇਵਾ ਕਰਨੀ ਆ, ਤੇ I just wanted to make my guru happy. I knew that this isn't going to make my guru happy.
Yeah.
But on the other side, yes, parents would come up to me. They say, "Here's my 14-year-old son. I'm 21 years old at this time, teaching a weekend course, Sikhi course at one of the schools." And auntie comes in.
Yeah. Sorry, I'm just going to get him to shut that camera because I've got a feeling that just buzzed. I don't want this to go off. Yeah, sorry. Tell me, carry on.
Yeah. Auntie brought me her son, 17 years old, said, "We just pulled him out of school. He's been taking cough syrup. He's been all this kind of stuff, and you know he does every drug you can think of."
He's on lean.
Yeah, and I was like, "Oh, that's all right. Don't worry. Just bring him in. I'll give him a ride. All that kind of stuff. Apne waste te jo hona siga." And what I realized is, at that point, I'd been growing up in a culture that a lot of things were so normalized. Mahampurkhs coming over, kemi ਉਹਨਾਂ ਦੇ ਹੱਥ ਧਵਾਣੇ, ਪੈਰ ਧਵਾਣੇ, ਕਿ ਪੈਸੇ even $100 go to you, $100 goes to me, who cares, right? ਤੇਰੇ ਪੈਸੇ ਮੇਰੇ ਪੈਸੇ, ਹੈ ਨਾ? And so on the way home, I think we drove by and I got him like a cup of coffee or like a little ice cream milkshake or something like that. And he said, "Oh wow, you're gonna pay for that?" I was like, "Yeah, bro, it's like $2, so don't worry about it." And he's like, "Oh, okay." And then I got him. He kept on saying thank you the entire way back. Then the next week I dropped him off again, and then I got him another ice cap or frappuccino or something like that. And he's like, "Oh, but I still owe you from last week."
Yeah,
I was like, "Bro, you don't need to owe me from last week. My money is your money. Your money is my money. I pay for you now, and then when you get a little bit older and it's your time to teach some of the younger kids about Sikhi,
you pass it on.
and then you just give that money on."
Exactly,
and that blew his mind.
Yeah.
Right? And something that we take for so granted. The Guru Sahib ne sade aam sadharan culture de vich pai hui hai. And so he was mind blown by that, and he was saying, "These guys really don't care about money. He really just cares about me."
Yeah.
Because in his other friend circles, he didn't have that. Everybody was all matlabi.
Well, it's a favour for a favour, isn't it?
Yeah.
They always, you're in debt to someone.
Yes,
You're in
yes.
debt, whether it's in debt with time, money,
Yeah.
with your emotions.
Yeah.
I totally understand where you're coming
Yeah, so for him, like obviously because he was young, $2.50 is a big deal, right? Like kids fight over that, right?
Yeah,
Maybe
of course.
adults don't, but for kids that was a big deal, and so I was like, it's not a big deal at all, right? Things like that you realize as I was working somebody with drugs. Sometimes it's kids with like calm problems, right?
Yeah.
Like in sangat
Less
even.
watching porn and
Yeah, a lot of that.
you're gonna get
So I had to guide kids on that, and so I always almost had to get a lot of guidance from my cousins or actual psychologists on how to connect that with Gurbani. So not only is it like the Gurmat and the Vedantic Sikhya and the Gurbani Arth Sikhya that we're doing, but then all of these psychological issues, these social issues that I'm trying to learn to deal with and connect it to Gurbani, and then trying to deal with the Sangat. So I just kind of like, here's a problem, how to solve it. Here's a problem, how do we solve it? Here's a problem, how do we solve it? If I can't solve it, how can we create a system to solve it? And then how can we create a system that if we've solved it temporarily, how can we keep it solved so it doesn't take birth again? So we tried and tested, failed sometimes, retried again. Sang jodde sige, tot vi jande si, or life circumstances changed. So the team around me growing up from when I was 13 to now, it's just different faces. Probably like 12, 15 different teams have come and gone. But with Maharaj's Kirpa, each time they get stronger and stronger. I know. So that's the beauty of it. So the honsla apna degda nahi, apa kari jaida. But yeah, you do get to see some very interesting and very unique scenarios.
Yeah, it sounds like it. It sounds like you've been groomed for basics.
Why?
Basically, you've been putting together lesson plans in how you look after people, and your objectives are there, and what I've done, and what do I do better next time. It sounds like you've been doing that since you were the age of 13, with friends, people, and things like that. So, no, that's really interesting. It's really interesting because I work with drug users, I work with people in helping prostitution or child abuse and things like that, and you've got to try to cater for everybody in a different way. But you always try to, like you said, the understanding of, here you go, here's some food, here's some this, here's a drink. And when they go, the week after, I still owe you £3, and you're like, you don't owe me nothing. And they're like, but why don't you ever take money? I was like, well, to explain to them, my thing is, I'm trying to get my positive karma.
Yeah.
And it's not a personal thing. I'm not trying to use you as something. I'm not trying to get you in debt. There's nothing. But people don't understand that. And you can see that in my job when people are like, why do you always buy the coffee? Why do you always get this? And it's like, Maya is with me today. I might not have it tomorrow.
Yeah, cool.
And then the day I don't have it, I'll probably ask you, can you buy me something? So if that comes in. But it's a social sort of structure that has been placed within Sikhi.
Yeah.
That is very hard for other people to comprehend.
Yeah.
Just with regards to your teaching, with regards to Sikhi, you've been all over North America. Have you ever touched upon Central or South America?
No, but I am in networks with people that have.
Okay.
I've actually done a Zoom call translated with some people. So online I've connected with some people in South America, because a lot of the language spoken there is Portuguese and Spanish. And so there was this one Panji who speaks English and Spanish. Yeah. So she would ask the question to them. They would ask in Spanish. Yeah. She would listen to it and she would repeat it in English, and I would answer in English. And while I'm talking, they just kind of like stare at me like we have no idea what's going on. And then she starts speaking and saying exactly what I said. And then they're like, oh, so I see their faces light up. But I'm like watching it all happen. Yeah. And then I ask their questions. And I'm obviously face blank, and then she asked the questions, and they see my face light up. Okay, that was your question. It's a really cool introduction with an intermediary in between. What I'm actually trying to do at the moment is trying to learn and improve my Spanish.
You on Duolingo, like everybody
else? Duolingo, YouTube. There's all these YouTube like how to learn Spanish, and I haven't invested in Rosetta Stone or anything like that yet. But maybe as I improve, it might even get a teacher and all that. But holy, I'm trying to improve when I do get the chance away from touring around, to improve my Spanish so I can go and hit these pockets.
But it seems that the biggest growth within the Sikh community is within those areas.
Yeah.
South America, Central America, it seems to be, they seem to be becoming more within Sikhi, whether they grasp it fully and take Amrit or whatnot, but they are interested in it.
Yes.
Interested in the concepts, the way the life is, the Barna. And I listened to like a podcast recently from Sikh Archive where they were talking about the old Punjabi community that came to Mexico. Way before.
You didn't even hear that,
And I didn't know anything about that. And they had relations, they had kids with the local Catholic, and you're just like, didn't realise this is embedded there. So some people are going back on their genealogy and going, hang on, my great granddad's from Punjab. How does that work? And then all of a sudden they want to go, I want to know a bit more about this. So
yeah. So with Basics of Sikhi, we actually have an international section
okay.
where we have Pradapdev Benji, and she's
Yes.
natively Spanish. So she takes a lot of these videos that we do
Yeah.
and writes them, transcripts them into Spanish, so it's available to them.
Okay.
And then a lot of the subtitles, we have Spanish Sevadars that take our videos and they subtitle all of our English videos into Spanish
Yeah.
to make them available. So we're trying to do more and more of that to make
And that's
I
it,
guess
the
Sikhi
resources
accessible.
available to,
Yeah.
like, you know, how many, probably about 1 billion people on that side.
And maybe, you know, some of these books you've written, Virji, maybe we can get them into Spanish.
Well, I've said that to, there's a singer here in Leicester, she's from Belgium, Japji called, she's did a yoga podcast with us. And she's obviously fluent in French and she can do other languages. And then there's another singer in Germany called Harman Singh. You know, I'm happy for anybody to take anything. All I have done is taken what was in Gurmukhi and translated it into an English vernacular. If somebody else can do it in any other vernacular, please take whatever you can. That's all. The whole point, like you said, is prachar, isn't it? It's not about anything personal. It's about opening avenues up to those audiences that don't speak in either a Punjabi vernacular or an English vernacular.
ਮੈਨੂੰ ਚੇਤਾ ਗਿਆਨੀ ਜੀ ਇੱਕ ਮੈਨੂੰ ਗੱਲ ਕਹਿੰਦੇ ਹੁੰਦੇ ਸੀਗੇ ਅਸੀਂ ਵਿਦਵਾਨ ਉਹਨੂੰ ਮੰਨਦੇ ਹਾਂ ਜਿਹਨੂੰ ਭਾਸ਼ਾਵਾਂ ਦਾ ਗਿਆਨ ਹੋਵੇ
ਹਾਂਜੀ, yeah, we do.
ਤੇ so that was like, okay, so then, you know, ਠੀਕ ਹੈ ਆਪਾਂ ਅਰਬੀ ਫਾਰਸੀ ਥੋੜੀ ਸਿੱਖ ਲੈਂਦੇ, ਥੋੜੀ ਜਿਹੀ ਸੰਸਕ੍ਰਿਤ ਸਿੱਖ ਲੈਂਦੇ ਆ, we got Hindi, Punjabi, that's you know, staple. Then we have English as staple. Sure, a few phrases here or there of English, French and Spanish, but we can't really speak it fully. Chalo, we have people in our team that can, but then also we want to grow our own personal horizon to be able to communicate and connect with those as well. So we ek bhashavan di granth vich aunda, like Jassa Singh Allu wali hai, his Punjabi is actually really tutti. They used to call him Humko Tumko Singh.
Yeah, because he spent most of his time in Delhi for a start.
Yeah.
So that's what it was. Everything was Humko Tumko, wasn't it?
Yeah.
But no, it's like, you know, you look at the vernacular, you look at markets opening, you look at the Chinese, they're interested in Sikhi, you look at other communities, and but for yourselves, in being in North America, knowing that you've got a massive population of people who speak either Spanish or Portuguese based on whether they're in Brazil or the rest of South America. And there's a massive interest. There seems to be a massive interest out there to genealogy. So it'd be interesting to see. It's going to be interesting to see how all these organisations, especially like Basis Sikhi, seek to inspire places like how they're going to develop within the next 10 to 15 years, because they've hit the ground running with regards to getting the prachar out in English. But you can see that other communities, we get it. When we do a podcast and all of a sudden, like ourselves, we're speaking in Punjabi and somebody's Latvian and I'm going, I can't understand what you're saying. Can you translate everything in English? So it's just about that. But no, it's great work. You've talked about how you got into Basis Sikhi. You've been with them for, it's about 7 years, you've said?
I think so. Yeah, 7 maybe.
How have you seen that develop in your time? Obviously, a big setback with
Bhai passing away,
without a doubt.
Yes. I mean, I'm 27 years old now. And so मैं उधर 20 साल दा होऊंगा, probably around 20 years old, quite young, learning, establishing, growing, trying to do as much seva as I can, and just working on my own personal jivan as well. In those years, yes, I saw the organization progress. I progressed through the organization as well, and then I progressed individually as well. ਸਾਧੂਆਂ ਦੀ ਸੰਗਤ ਕਰਕੇ ਮਰ ਦੀ ਕਿਰਪਾ ਨਾਲ ਥੋੜਾ ਟਿਕਾ ਬਖਸ਼ਿਆ ਸਾਧੂਆਂ ਨੇ, to where obviously when you're 16 you're go military, blah blah blah, you know, and you know, yelling at everybody, do your push-ups, do your simran while you're doing your push-ups. That was me. You probably can't imagine me like that. I mean, we want to manifest it, we can, right? But ਜਿਹੜੀ ਚੀਜ਼ ਸਾਧੂਆਂ ਨੇ ਬਾਅਦੋਂ ਆਪ ਟਿਕਾ ਬਖਸ਼ਿਆ ਜਾਂ ਹੋਰ ਵਿੱਦਿਆ ਸਿਖਾਈ, ਡੂੰਗੀ ਵਿੱਦਿਆ ਹੋਰਾਂ ਨੇ ਉਹਨੇ ਵਿਦਾਂਤ ਸਿਖਾਉਣਾ ਸ਼ੁਰੂ ਕਰ ਦਿੱਤਾ, that really opened up various avenues. And then on the political side of things, and on the Rajniti side of things, a lot of growth is happening still. So learning about, you know, the business side of things, learning how about the finances and the world works and world politics and politics within the Sikh Panth, even seeing them traveling around the world, from New Zealand to Malaysia to Thailand to China to UK to Scotland, like everywhere, no?
Yeah.
So you get to see all of these pockets and how Sikhi has progressed there as well.
Yeah.
So then you take your organization and you say, okay, how have we progressed compared to how everybody else is progressing?
Exactly, yeah.
So then it comes back to the same thing. What is our objective? What is the problem that we're trying to solve? So yes, we've identified problems and we have different sevadars tackling these various problems. We tie it down to make it impactful in one punch. And you always constantly need to adapt that. So yes, with Jagraj Singh going, there's a need of that voice of leadership, to be able to hone all the sevadars together to continue to get back on the streets. And Das and the sevadars now are trying to reestablish, grow. And as the world and even social media, YouTube is not the same as it was 10, 15 years ago. It's a completely new game now. It's almost you have to go grassroots. You've got all of these suggested posts. Social media is almost like is working against you in all aspects.
I'll give you an example.
Yeah.
10 years ago,
Yeah.
you'd sit and watch a YouTube video, maybe 20 to 30 minutes long. The attention span of today's kids is a TikTok video of 15 seconds.
Yeah, even that is too much.
And that's worrying, because we're seeing that with new recruits within the police. Their retention of knowledge is really difficult. Because if you say to them, right, we've got a 3-hour-long lecture on with regards to the human rights and legislation with regards to the right to torture, within 10 minutes they're on the floor again.
Yeah, because of that constant need of instant gratification, you need dopamine. Everyone's having dopamine rush. Yeah. So people are feeling more and more empty on the inside.
Yes.
And they have a need to want to belong. Yes. Everyone wants to fit in. They want to come to Sangha. They want to feel like, do I belong here? Am I welcome here? Family, sometimes people don't get along with their parents. They don't get along with their spouses or whatever happens. But how do we make Sangat or who we are as brothers and sisters to be able to welcome them in and say, yeah, we got your back. Yeah. Right? We can be real with you. So we have to start doing things at a grassroots levels again. And that's how I'm seeing the organization from even passing after Jagraj Singh. It's been 5 years now. We just celebrated 5-year Barsi. It's about getting back onto that ground, connecting to someone on a one-to-one level and saying, Veer, I know the pain inside of your heart. Yeah. You belong with me. I belong with you. I got your back no matter what happens in your life. I'm not judging you in this sort of way. Yeah. So that connection of prem, whether it's through a video, whether it's through a talk, whether it's through one-on-one, whether it's through a network that we create, that is the grassroots level is the way forward at the moment. It's almost grassroots is the new social media.
It's just a reset, isn't it?
Yeah.
Reset, looking at your business model and training again. This is going to sound really silly. I don't know whether you know. Do you look at key performance indicators and return on investment and things like that?
Yes.
So you do. That's going to be difficult to do.
Yes.
We've not looked at any of that. We just want to meet people and come out.
Maradi Kirpana, the team that we have, we've got various specialties and expertise bringing their own vidya and virtues going into the organization. The organization is actually in the background, especially since COVID time. It allowed us to step back from the go constantly, program here, to step back a little bit, reassess, re-strategize, and then expand into the horizon. So we've actually started a new project, Gur Prasad Vidyala, in North America. And so what we found is, as we were doing prachar, usually the questions that we get asked fall into some way, shape, or form in 3 categories. Okay. Either a Sikhi related question, okay, Guru Sahib says this, what does this mean? Right? That's a Sikhi related question. Second would be a personal problem, like my mom's saying this to me. My mom, I want to get married, but my mom's saying you can't take Amrit yet, and etc. Right? Sometimes it's personal issues. Third is we are inspired now. What do we do next? Yeah. Okay. Right. So to focus just on the third one, to the other two, there's other projects that or other networks we created to help in those regards. But for that third one is, we're inspired now. We watch the videos. We listen to the katha. What do we do next? Yeah. So my instant question is, Tusi Gurbani padde hain? Yeah. Have you taken Santhya? right? Because that's the thought process. If you're inspired, you're inspired to read Bani and connect with the Guru. ਤੁਸੀਂ Bani ਪੜੋ ਫਿਰ. How to read Gurbani, how to learn Gurbani, Santhya ਸਿੱਖਦੇ. Oh no, there's no one to teach us. Where do you live? Oh, we live in this remote area. We can't go to the Malton Gurdwara and take Santa from Gyani Hadeep Singh, or go to Tracy and take it from Sodiji. Like it's not available to us. So how do we create a network of these students that are wanting to progress in that way? And not only that, Gun that they have, raise them, develop their leadership skills, and even get them to start doing seva
themselves. Or take the first steps towards it.
So what we created like a pyramid system.
Okay.
Whereas everybody coming in has to take Moharni, right? Moharni is bhakti in itself. That's the root of everything. So majority of people are going to be in Moharni. So ਜਿਨ੍ਹਾਂ ਦੇ 22 ਵਾਰਾਂ ਜਾਂ ਕਹ ਲਓ ਨਿਤਨੇਮ ਦੀ ਸੰਥਿਆ ਕਰ ਲਈ, ਉਹਨਾਂ ਨੇ ਆਪਣੇ Moharni ਸਿਖਾਉਣੀ ਸ਼ੁਰੂ ਕਰ ਦੇਣੀ ਹੈ.
Okay, yeah.
Then those that have 22 ਵਾਰਾਂ, they will teach ਨਿਤਨੇਮ.
Okay, so you're handing down.
Yeah, you're handing down. Yeah, okay. So ਜਿਨ੍ਹਾਂ ਦੀ ਆਦਿ ਸੰਥਿਆ ਹੋ ਗਈ, ਉਹਨਾਂ ਨੇ 22 ਵਾਰਾਂ ਭਗਤ ਬਾਣੀ ਸਾਰੀ ਸਿਖਾ ਦੇਣੀ ਹੈ. ਜਿਨ੍ਹਾਂ ਦੀ ਦਸਮ ਦੀ ਸੰਥਿਆ ਹੋ ਗਈ, ਉਹਨਾਂ ਨੇ ਆਦਿ ਬਾਣੀ ਸਿਖਾ ਦੇਣੀ ਆ. ਠੀਕ ਹੈ, ਇਹਨਾਂ ਨੇ ਸਰਬਲੋ ਦੀ ਹੋ ਗਈ, ਦਸਮ ਦੀ ਤੇ ਦੂਸਰੀ ਸਿਖਾ ਦਿੰਦੇ ਆ. ਤੇ ਜਿਹੜੇ ਵਿਦਾਂਤ ਦੇ ਵੀ ਜਾਂ ਹੋਰ ਵੀ ਆਪਣੇ ਵਿਦਿਆ ਦੇ ਗ੍ਰੰਥ ਹੋ ਗਏ ਆ, even to ਸਿੱਖਾਂ ਦੀ ਭਗਤ ਮਾਲਾ ਤੋਂ ਲੈ ਕੇ, we're talking about like ਵਿਚਾਰ ਸਾਗਰ, ਵਿਚਾਰ ਚੰਦਰੋਦੈ, ਜਿਹੜੇ ਗੁਰਮੁਖਾਂ ਨੇ ਸਿੱਖਿਆ ਆ. Obviously ਜਿਹੜੇ ਵੱਡੇ ਗ੍ਰੰਥ ਆ, there's obviously less quantity. There's less quantity in those things. But there's more quantity in those that are able to teach Moharni, so it turns into a pyramid naturally. And not everybody makes it to the top levels, because even if somebody comes and they're inspired and they just take Gurbani Santhya or even half of it, and they be on their way, what more can we ask for, right?
Exactly.
That's just a seva, right? But then out of that, we keep our eye out, and we pick people to bring into specific vidya classes. We also develop on the physical side of it. We have physical programs running inside of the vidyala, not just santhya. Then we're developing like leadership courses and other domains. So you were trying to create like a full rounded khalsa through this, like Gaur Prasad Vidyala. But what we found is we wanted just the jigyas, because basics of Sikhi is focused on those 95%, and we want to keep it aiming at the Mone, the Jassis, the Preetis that don't know what Sikhi is, and they're concerned about what who is Guru Nanak Dev Ji is, what does Sikhi say about hell and heaven, like very, very simple things. If I am doing drugs, like why do I feel the need to do drug, why should I not do it, like very, very simple. Come into Sikhi, this is what your Guru is, learn about your Guru, and focus on this. So we want to aim that project furthermore to that, even more than it has been in the last 5 years, right? Then you have Sikh Press Association doing the publicity side of things and the political side of things. Then the Gaur Prasad Vidyalaya is all about developing and training. We have a 2-month onboarding process to filter out the jigyasus from the non-jigyasus.
Which is what you need.
Because what we found is one Singh was
the glass from the jewels.
One Singh was teaching Santhya, right? And Santhya is correcting the mispronunciations in Gurbani. One of the guys that was learning, every time he would be corrected, this is all happening on Zoom, he would be corrected and he would roll his eyes like, right? So as a teacher, as an ustad, that's very disrespectful.
Of course it is.
So he would roll his eyes for 40 minutes. He did that and never showed up again. It was a waste of the Singh's time. So we value the time that all the sevadars are putting in, because they are, when you learn, that's considered 2. When you teach, that's considered 10.
Okay.
है ना? 10 गुना ज़्यादा फ़ायदा होता है ना? 5 गुना ज़्यादा फ़ायदा होता है when you teach something. It's you instill it in your own mind. But I don't want my Singh or my Benji to be able to be wasting their time butting heads, right? So we created a 8-week onboarding process where they have to complete 8 quests, right? That is a how to be a Vidyarthi course. They have to listen to X amount of katha and do multiple choice questions. They have to do hathi seva, kyunki hathan de naal bhande manjne ja karna, ਉਹਦੇ ਨਾਲ ਮਨ ਦੀ ਉਹ ਤੋਂ ਬਿਨਾ ਮਨ ਦੀ ਮੈਲ ਰੱਖਣੀ ਨਹੀਂ ਹੈ ਬਿਲਕੁਲ ਕਰਨਾ. So physically they have to do something. So 8 quests of that sort. If they can dedicate themselves to that much, then we'll say, you're eligible to be in the Vidyalaya. Now you dedicated 2 months to me, to us, and now we're going to dedicate time to you. Even if you drop off for a little while, we're going to check up on you and make sure you're doing okay.
I like that. I'll tell you why I like that. The Catholics have a thing where if you want to get married at one of their churches, you have to go to their churches. You have to go, join the congregation, do certain things in order for them to go, actually, yes, we'll wed you here because you've learnt these things and you've learnt these basic things. We seem to give away Vidya too cheaply.
Yes.
to anybody.
Yeah.
And I totally agree. That is one of the best concepts I've heard on how to pick out your vidyarthis. Because you want to make sure that they're going to turn up for week 3. Why teach everybody week 1 and they drop out?
Yeah.
And that's the problem, is it? Because it's disheartening for the ustad, because they're like, पिछले हफ्ते 8 बंदे से यहाँ तक 2 जिज्ञासु रह गए. They'll carry on with the one jigyasu, but it's disheartening.
Yeah.
And I think that's really good, because you're weeding out the chaff from the wheat.
Yeah.
That's really good.
So Maradi Kirpa now, we've been able to build this cloud now. And then, you have just Karan Singh and other Sevadars, they're doing SikhTranslations.com. I came across that.
Yeah, they were here the other day.
And so, you got the academic side of things, you got the training side of things, you got the prachar side of things, you got the political side of things, you got the children side of things. So again, it's always about identifying a problem, creating a system to solve that problem. Creating those systems is what we try to do at Everything's 13 or Sabgesh Tera. So with the Vidyalaya in itself, it's all in a cloud now. But we want that cloud to rain down now.
Of course, yeah.
So this is the next step.
Yeah.
So we've been developing this, and we want to grow it now. Obviously, we can't. There's a lot. Our waiting list is, I think, 100 plus as well to get into the Vidyalaya. We just don't have the capacity of the teachers and the ustads at the moment to be able to manage all of that. And obviously, resources and all of those things come into play as well. What the next step of that is to establish it on the ground, where you can have a 1-month course, a 6-month course, a gap year course. And I've been working with Singhs in California for a while now to establishing this physical place where there's going to be museums, there's going to be funeral homes, there's going to be like hockey, field hockey arenas to get all of the Punjabi brown boys out to play, but they're in your environment. Then there's a Pagti Kar where you can just go and visit and do Pagti if you want. There's lecture halls. There's all of these little Anandpuri that we're trying to make.
It's just going to be, it's a good thing you said that.
Yeah.
Because I'm in my head, for a moment, I had the New Mexico place from Yogi Bhajan, where he tried to establish that sort of thing.
Yeah.
Or everything in one house, under one roof. But you'll be able to do that. And for the future Vidyarthis, learning Gurmat Sikhya, Vedant, Shastra Vidya, and learning about their own history. The goal is
because we have so many Vidavans in our Panth that we do not care for them. If we don't create the systems to care for the Vidavans, then that's I think in our generation, the future Sikhs will look back at us and they're like, look how they disrespected the Vidwans in their era.
And I totally agree.
Right?
Totally agree.
So we got these great Vidwans. They should be on salaries of $200,000-$300,000 a year.
And that's what you do. People only go to university for a job because of the pay.
Yes.
And we've said this in India. Why is the grantees' pay so poor that they're leaving to become? We've seen in Leicester where
a truck driver.
Our Gyanis in Leicester have left and become taxi drivers.
Yeah.
Right. Hang on, they're really good Gyanis. They're Vidwans. They learn all the Vidya and everything.
Yeah.
Why are they treated so poorly?
Exactly.
Considering their Seva never seems to stop. Katha in the morning, then a counterpart of the poor, and then they're doing dig Seva, then they're at somebody's house, and they work all the time.
So there's a saying in the U.S. I don't know if it's the same here, that you get paid for the value you provide.
Yeah.
Right. So these Vidwans have the ability to provide all of that value, but we've not created the system based on the region for them to be able to provide that value and help it reach to the students that want to learn it, right? So in Punjab, it's a lot easier. Sure, ਪਿੰਡ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਜਾ ਕੇ ਪਿੰਡਰੀ ਜਾ ਕੇ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਨੇ ਟਕਸਾਲ ਖੋਲ ਕੇ and they were able to teach it. ਤੇ ਜਿਸ ਸਿੰਘ ਉੱਥੇ ਆਪ ਪਿੰਡ ਛੱਡ ਕੇ ਉੱਥੇ ਆ ਕੇ ਸਿੱਖ ਲੈਂਦੇ ਸੀਗੇ ਤੇ ਕਰ ਤੇ ਇੱਥੇ ਵੀ ਸਕਦੇ ਆ ਇਦਾਂ, but there's a lot of loopholes and all, but that's our ਜ਼ਿੰਮੇਵਾਰੀ to be able to help them establish that. So ਜਿਹੜੇ ਵਿਦਵਾਨਾਂ ਨੇ ਜਾ ਕੇ ਸਿਖਾਉਣਾ ਹੈ, they can raise armies. This is the padavi of Baba Buddha Ji, what a Granthi Singh is, and to raise that to a level. And then what's going to happen is, yes, the establishments of the Gurdwara over the last 40 years have happened, where you have Gurdwara all over the world now. But now it's our era's or our generation's responsibility to go and tweak that to take it to the next level.
Yes,
there's so much money, like some Gurdwara are made with $36 million. A Gurdwara is made with that much money. And so, like, sometimes I'm thinking, I'm like, yo, just give me 10% of that. We could do so much with the fund.
But that's what you think, don't you? I think that with the books. I think that with the books. I just think to myself, if I got funding for £20,000, and you just think how much you could put out there for all sorts of things, and it's that sort of thing. It's a drop in the ocean, isn't it? For 36 million, it's nothing. And for army, it's just like, Tika, we don't agree with you. We're gonna make another $30 million Gurdwara over there, right? So Maya bahut
to channel that, to get into these institutions, to change the direction of where they're headed. That's our era's job, right? To raise the level of the Divan so that we can do these things.
Yeah.
Another thing, look, other communities are very ahead of us. The Jewish in North America,
Yeah.
or at least in California, from what I know, they have this birthright trip. So through the universities, it's subsidized, where they get, I think, a semester off, or I don't know if it's a semester, some time off, where they get to travel, all expenses paid,
Back
to Jerusalem and back.
That's amazing.
And it's called a birthright trip. Okay.
So
if they're able to do that, why can't we have every Sikh student
do the same?
Go and visit the Panch Takhts as their birthright trip?
That would be amazing.
Right? And then come back. So these are the systems that we need to put our feet in to link ourselves and establish. So then you know, Maradi Girpan al Amritsar projects, once it kicks off, very soon. And then once that links to if we are able to get the birthright trip linked with that, with all the students going there, create a network linked to the Panch Takhts, it would be amazing, right? With tourism coming there, teaching all the Sikha there. So again, the goal for the entire organization is find the problem, create the system, and then go, not just find the problem and be reactive, but now we also need to start shifting that to becoming proactive.
That's
right?
the thing.
So getting ahead. Right now we're still catching up with Musliman and the Jewish community and everybody else. Apan vad chad ke, you know, sada chanda should be the first one on Mars, right? Neela nishan da wo te gad ke hunne apan. Theek hai.
Yeah, I know what you mean. I totally agree with what you mean. I know how much we're catching up, because I remember when Good with the Child and other websites came out, and you're like, hang on, all these other faiths have got all their grants online already. They've got all their speeches, all their lectures. We've been catching up for a long time, and now it's about time, like you said, taking those steps where you're basically putting a university together now. That's what you're looking at.
Yeah. And I don't know what we can start laying these things out. I don't know what we'll really be able to achieve in our lifetime.
Yeah.
Right? I've always visioned, like, I don't know if you guys seen the movie Lord of the Rings.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah,
of course. Who hasn't?
So you've seen the Dwarves Dungeons?
Yeah.
Yo, I want something like that for the Panth. Something like that where if everything was to collapse and the Sikh Panth need to retreat to somewhere, where would we go right now? I'm just taking North America for an example, or even in the UK. Where do you retreat to? Where are your safe haven? Where are your resources? Where are your khajane? है ना? ਤੇ ਇਹੋ ਜਿਹੀ ਚੀਜ਼ ਜਾ ਕੇ ਇੰਨੀ ਐਸਟੈਬਲਿਸ਼ ਕੀਤੀ ਜਾਵੇ, ਕਿਉਂ ਨਹੀਂ ਹੋ ਸਕਦੇ, ਠੀਕ ਹੈ? Every other uncle's a carpenter, a home builder, all that kind of stuff. We put all of these things together, and I think the biggest threat to the Panth at the moment, and this part's actually important, we can have all the resources, we can have all the people, but the biggest threat to the Panth right now is ideological assimilation. This is where you are taking liberal sochani or conservative sochani, and then you bring that into Gurmat. So you're now, let's say you hear Sikhi is love, Sikhi is love, Sikhi is love, Sikhi is love. And then somebody comes in and says, you must keep a rat to be able to to take Amrit. If you don't keep the rat, Mara says, Muhkala do jagah chalya, naam ni japya jinane. And they're like, well, that's scary. That's not the Sikhi I learned. But what is the Sikhi you learned then? So did you learn it through a lens of a right wing or a left wing? And so this ideology where we're taking Sikhi, and because we don't know what Gurmat is, and you take it and you assimilate it into a liberal culture, right? Or you assimilate it into a conservative culture. Like now there's this thing on Twitter where we shouldn't use Singh or Kaur, but it should be like a gender neutral thing. So Gurmat anusar dekhne, are we taking our own philosophy and toping it onto Gurmat?
Basically, Gurmat is Swatantar. It's independent.
It's independent. Nirala. So you need to take Gurmat and then go to the liberals and say, you're right here, you're wrong here. Then you go to conservatives, you're right here, you're wrong here.
Exactly.
But so the question really comes, are you, and I say this respectfully, are you British who happens to be a Sikh? Or are you a Sikh who happens to live in England? Right? Are you a Sikh who happens to live in America, or an American who happens to be a Sikh? Where does your allegiance lie first?
Exactly.
So if that is drilled down into the Panth, the resources, the ideologies, the thoughts, the vision, all of that will come. Then we'll have, the dwarf dungeons.
Yeah, that sounds good actually. No, I understand what you mean. I totally understand what you mean. But it's about putting that perspective of thought on people, because that's the thing. For me, it was a case of, as a kid, you grow up and you're like, I'm British, and then you also go, but I'm also, I get bullied on this side, and fascists say this and this and this. Actually, I'm not British, and then you go, I'm Indian, I'm Sikh, and then you go to yeah, I'm a Punjabi. Get to India and they go, "Tu to desi hai sare." You're not one of us. Say to you, "Tu to Blato hai, tu to Bharo hai."
Yeah.
And then you're like, "Well, I'm not them." And then that's it. You realise your ideology is Sikhi. I'm Sikh. I'm a Sikh. That is what comes first. And that's where my allegiances lie.
Right.
But it's getting to that point for some
Right.
people. I know how difficult it was for me because you're like, I want to assimilate with these people. They don't want me. I want to assimilate. They don't want me neither.
And it goes
I'll
back
tell
to
you
that
what.
same thing where we want to just fit in.
Yeah.
We have a need to belong somewhere.
Exactly.
But that need to belong is taking us away from Gurmat now.
Yeah, but then you realise the place I do belong is here.
Guru di sharan
It's
vich.
here. And this was the easiest place to fit in. If the jigsaw was easy, I just needed to slot my place in.
Jo jano teo raak har prabh tere
Yeah.
jib main changa ya mara, because everywhere else you have to become like them.
Exactly.
But with the Guru you just be who you are, and the Guru main tera ya bas.
Yeah, exactly.
Right. ਇਹ ਚੀਜ਼ ਬਸ ਮਨ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਤਾਂ ਹੀ ਗੁਰਮਤਿ ਪ੍ਰਚਾਰ, ਗੁਰਬਾਣੀ ਪੜੋ, ਗੁਰਬਾਣੀ ਸਿੱਖੋ, ਨਾਮ ਜਪੋ, ਸਾਧੂਆਂ ਦੀ ਸੰਗਤ ਵਿੱਚ ਪਤਾ ਲੱਗਣਾ, ਕਿਉਂਕਿ ਸਾਧੂs will love you no matter what.
Exactly. That's the big thing. That's a big thing. Well, coming on to actual good question on that is, who was your inspiration? You've mentioned a couple of sadhus, but who were your
Kamalpreet Singh
inspiration?
Pardesi.
No, well, I don't know who that is.
ਵਾਹਿਗੁਰੂ ਪਤਾ ਕੀ ਹੈ, ਮਹਾਰਾਜ ਦੀ ਕਿਰਪਾ ਨਾਲ ਬਹੁਤ ਸਾਧੂਆਂ ਦੀ ਮਤਲਬ ਸੰਗਤ ਮਿਲੀ ਆ. ਸੋ ਮੈਂ ਇੱਕਦਮ ਕਿਸੇ ਦਾ ਨਾਮ ਲੈ ਕੇ I don't want to put somebody else down, ਹਨਾ, in that sort of way.
If you've listened to when I've done any talks, I talk about, I've been around Burundi Alisant, and then Hardcore Alisant, then Sant Hari Singh Ji, then Sant Avtar Singh, Badani Ale, and then Kamalpreet Singh, there's so many that have. There's not one inspiration for me, but all of them as a collective.
They're all are the Guru Roop, and ਸਾਰਿਆਂ ਦੇ ਚਰਨਾਂ ਤੇ ਵਾਰ-ਵਾਰ ਨਮਸਕਾਰ ਆ ਲੱਖ ਵਾਰੀ. ਜਿਹੜੇ ਬਾਬਾ ਜਸਵੰਤ ਸਿੰਘ ਜੀ ਭਗਤ ਜੀ ਹੈ ਨਾ, ਉਹਨਾਂ ਨੇ ਮਤਲਬ ਜਿਵੇਂ ਅੰਦਰ ਦਾ ਟਿਕਾਅ ਬਖਸ਼ਿਆ ਹੈ, ਜਿਵੇਂ ਸਿੱਖਿਆ ਦਿੱਤੀ ਆ, they gave me something that cannot be written in books.
Yes. Yeah.
Right? That's the difference. You learn things from books, you learn what words mean. ਉਹ ਵੀ ਸਿੱਖਿਆ ਬਹੁਤ ਧੰਨ ਆ, ਕਿਉਂਕਿ ਜਿਹਨੇ ਐੜਾ ਸਿਖਾਇਆ ਆ ਉਹਦੇ ਕਰਕੇ ਮੈਨੂੰ ਈੜੀ ਸਿੱਖਣ ਨੂੰ ਮਿਲੀ ਆ. ਠੀਕ ਆ? ਸੋ ਜੇ ਊੜਾ ਸਿੱਖਿਆ ਤਾਂ ਹੀ ਮੈਂ ਐੜਾ ਸਿੱਖਿਆ ਆ. ਪਰ ਜਿਹੜੀ ਬਾਬਾ ਜੀ ਦੀ ਸੰਗਤ ਵਿੱਚੋਂ ਮਤਲਬ ਜਿਹੜਾ ਉਹ ਇੱਕ ਫਕੀਰਪਣਾ, carefree, ਵਿਰਾਗ, like ਅੰਦਰ ਦਾ ਟਿਕਾਅ, and especially at a young age, ਜਿਵੇਂ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਨੇ ਸਿੱਖਿਆ ਦਿੱਤੀ, before I had to struggle with calm, before I had to struggle with all these things, ਉਹਨਾਂ ਨੇ ਪਹਿਲਾਂ ਹੀ ਬਚਾ ਲਿਆ ਮੈਨੂੰ, ਹਨਾ, because of their ਸੰਗਤ. So ਉਹ ਚੀਜ਼, like how can I look, and then I look at the world, what are they suffering with? ਠੀਕ ਹੈ, ਗ੍ਰੰਥਾਂ ਵਿੱਚ ਚੀਜ਼ਾਂ ਬੜੀਆਂ ਲਿਖੀਆਂ, but what they're struggling with is what ਭਗਤ ਜੀ ਜਿਨ੍ਹਾਂ ਨੇ ਮੇਰੇ ਅੰਦਰ ਝੰਡ ਦਿੱਤਾ, ਉਹਨਾਂ ਨੇ ਵਾਰ-ਵਾਰ ਬਾਟੇ ਵੀ ਮੰਜਾਏ, ਵਾਰ-ਵਾਰ ਐਕਸਰਸਾਈਜ਼ਾਂ ਵੀ ਕਰਾਈਆਂ, ਵਾਰ-ਵਾਰ ਪੰਕਤੀਆਂ ਵੀ ਪੜ੍ਹਾਈਆਂ. Sometimes we be writing with the same ਪੰਕਤੀ for like 5 hours straight. ਹੱਥ ਥੱਕ ਜਾਂਦਾ ਸੀ, ਲਿਖੀ ਜਾਓ. ਪਰ ਉਹ ਕੀ ਆ, ਉਹ ਅੰਦਰ ਦਾ ਮਨ ਘੜਦੇ ਆ, ਹਨਾ. And that's the sign of a sadhu. ਕਿ ਉੱਥੇ ਬੰਦੇ ਦਾ ਮਨ ਕੱਢ ਦਿੰਦੇ ਆ.
This is going to sound really silly. They provide different methods of bhakti.
Yes.
And if you don't understand that, somebody has to watch a Karate Kid and watch him go wax on, wax off.
Yes.
But you don't. They're trying to take that homme out of you. Trying to take that. They're cleaning you from the inside without you realizing what's going on.
ਉਹ ਬਾਅਦ ਚੋਂ ਪਤਾ ਲੱਗਦਾ ਹੈ.
Yeah, of course it is. Of course it is.
ਤੇ ਉੱਦਾਂ ਇਤਿਹਾਸ ਵਿੱਚ ਵੀ ਜਿੱਦਾਂ ਆਪਾਂ ਭਾਈ ਫੌਜਾ ਸਿੰਘ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਦੀ ਗੱਲ ਕਰਦੇ ਹਾਂ, ਸੰਤ ਜਰਨੈਲ ਸਿੰਘ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਦੀ, ਮਹਾਂਪੁਰਖਾਂ ਦੀ ਗੱਲ ਕਰਦੇ ਹਾਂ, ਬਾਬਾ ਸੁੰਦਰ ਸਿੰਘ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਦੀ, like you just read the ਜੀਵਨ, ਸੰਤ ਬਾਬਾ ਹਰਨਾਮ ਸਿੰਘ ਜੀ,
ਬਾਬਾ ਆਨੰਦ ਸਿੰਘ ਜੀ, ਜਵਾਲਾ ਸਿੰਘ ਜੀ, ਬਾਬਾ ਜਵਾਲਾ ਸਿੰਘ ਜੀ.
ਮਤਲਬ I don't even know where to end, right? It's just an ocean of pearls. ਤੇ ਸਾਡੇ ਘਰੇ just have these photos of all these ਮਹਾਂਪੁਰਖs, and I have this file on my computer of all these photos of Mahampurkhs. You feel down, you just go and have the darshan of all the Mahampurkhs. Namaskar to every single one. Next photo, namaskar. Next photo, namaskar. ਇਹ ਭਗਤ ਜੀ ਨੇ ਗੱਲਾਂ ਸਿਖਾਈਆਂ ਨਾ, ਕਿ ਸਾਰਿਆਂ ਦਾ ਕਿਵੇਂ ਦਰਸ਼ਨ ਕਰਕੇ ਗੁਰੂ ਦਾ ਰੂਪ ਦੇਖ ਕੇ ਨਮਸਕਾਰ ਚਦਾ, ਹੈ ਨਾ. ਅਤੇ ਉਹ ਚੀਜ਼ ਅੰਦਰੋਂ ਖੇੜਾ ਬਣ ਜਾਂਦਾ ਆ. ਬਾਹਰ ਦੀ ਦੁਨੀਆ ਹੈ, ਖਸਣਾ ਖੇਡਣਾ ਦੁਨੀਆ ਵਿੱਚ ਕਰਦੇ ਆ. That anand that you just get from looking at a Mahampurkh's photo is something different.
Yeah, I agree. Listen to someone's Jeevani, for me, Bhai Manjdi Sakhi, you can't no Sakhi like it.
I agree.
Kidale Mahapurkhs become, and the Guru Sahib to give them the vibe that they have, and for those sorts of things, but no.
ਉਹੀ ਜਿੱਦਾਂ ਚਲੋ ਭਗਤ ਜੀ ਹੁਣਾਂ ਰਾਹੀਂ ਵੀ ਜਾਂ ਆਪਾਂ ਇਤਿਹਾਸ ਵਿੱਚ ਵੀ ਜਿਹੜੀ ਪੜ੍ਹਦੇ ਹਾਂ ਤਾਂ ਮੈਂ ਉਹੀ ਬੇਨਤੀ ਪਹਿਲਾਂ ਕੀਤੀ ਸੀਗੀ ਕਿਉਂਕਿ ਮੈਂ ਅੰਦਰ ਆਪਣੇ ਆਪ ਸੋਚਿਆ ਬੜੇ ਕਿਉਂਕਿ ਇੱਕ ਸਿੰਘ ਨੇ ਮੈਨੂੰ ਸਵਾਲ ਪੁੱਛਿਆ ਸੀ he actually asked me this like 3 weeks ago so that's why I've been thinking about it since and he asked me like what's your kitsch towards Sikhi है ना सिक्खी प्रति तेरी खिंच की है why do you what do you do why do you do what you do ठीक है चलो प्रचार कीर्तन और कथा ਦਾ ਕਿਸੇ ਦਾ ਕੁਛ ਨਾ ਕੁਛ ਹੁੰਦਾ but why do you do what you do ਤੇ ਮੈਂ ਬੜਾ ਖੋਜ ਕੀਤੀ ਆਪਣੇ ਅੰਦਰ ਮੈਂ ਕਿਹਾ ਸਿੰਘ he's a psychologist right you can ask these questions ਮੈਂ ਬੜਾ ਆਪਣੇ ਆਪ ਨੂੰ ਸੋਚਿਆ ਯਾਰ if you're going to ask me these questions I wouldn't have come to the grocery store with you right I was walking around the grocery store I was picking up his tomatoes and potatoes and doing all this stuff ਮੈਂ ਸੋਚੀ ਜਾਵਾਂ ਕਿ ਮੇਰੀ ਖਿੱਚ why do I do what I do 2-3 ਹਫ਼ਤੇ ਲੱਗੇ ਪਰ ਉਹ ਗੱਲ ਇੱਥੇ ਆਉਂਦੀ ਕਿ ਮੈਂ ਆਪਣੇ ਗੁਰੂ ਨੂੰ ਖੁਸ਼ ਕਰਨਾ ਚਾਹੁੰਦਾ I don't know how ਜੇ ਕਥਾ ਰਾਹੀਂ ਨਹੀਂ ਹੈ ਅੱਜ ਠੀਕ ਹੈ ਕੱਲ੍ਹ ਨੂੰ ਨਹੀਂ ਹੈ that's okay ਕੋਈ ਬੋਲਣ ਦਾ ਕੋਈ ਸ਼ੌਂਕ ਨਹੀਂ ਹੈ ਹੈ ਨਾ
if you find another way to please your guru
ਹਾਂ ਬਸ ਗੱਲ ਉਹ ਆ ਹੈ ਨਾ ਕਿ ਮੈਂ ਗੁਰੂ ਨੂੰ ਖੁਸ਼ ਕਰਨਾ ਆ ਤੇ ਹਾਂ ਮਹਾਰਾਜ ਤੁਹਾਡਾ ਪੰਥ ਚੱਲ ਰਿਹਾ ਆ you are the malli you are the gardener that's going to take care of the kheti of the Khalsa Panth but my job in is just Maharaj earn your khushiyan and maybe try to put a little bit of yogdan well, even though it's not really going to be much but ਤੁਸੀਂ ਆਪ ਵਿੱਚ ਵਰਤ ਕੇ ਕਰਾ ਲੈਣਾ ਪਰ ਮਹਾਰਾਜ ਜੀ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਖੁਸ਼ ਹੀ ਆ ਬਾਬਾ ਅਜੀਤ ਸਿੰਘ ਦੇ ਸੀਨੇ 'ਚ ਤੀਰ ਲੱਗੇ ਸੀ ਨਾ and I turned back and ਮਹਾਰਾਜ ਖੁਸ਼ ਹੈ ਨਾ ਮੇਰੇ ਨਾਲ that's all I want to be able to turn around to Maharaj one day the day when hopefully I'm blessed to be able to walk into the darbar and hopefully not show a blackened face and I can look at Guru Sahib ji and say like ਮੈਂ ਆਪਣੀ ਕੋਸ਼ਿਸ਼ ਕੀਤੀ ਹੈ ਹੁਣ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਤੁਹਾਡੀ ਨਜ਼ਰ ਚਾਹੀਦੀ ਹੈ ਹੈ ਨਾ ਮਿਹਰ ਕਰੋ ਬਸ
no but I totally understand But it sounds, from what age did you meet Bhagavad?
Bahut chota. I was very young. I think it was probably like 6.
Because like you said, before Kamna, all those sorts of things start.
6 years old. About 6 years old, yeah.
Is there a prominent teaching that you take from them? One specific teaching? If not, then I can understand. But
Guru is just garibi.
Yeah.
है ना हमेशा just become the dust. गुरसिक्खां की हर तूड़ दे हम पापी विगत पाहे. ਹੈ ਨਾ ਵਾਰ ਕਹੋ ਨਾਨਕ ਸਭ ਤੇਰੀ ਵਡਿਆਈ ਕੋਈ ਨਾਮ ਨਾ ਜਾਣਾ ਮੇਰਾ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਨੇ ਕਿਹਾ ਹਰਮਨ ਸਿੰਘ ਤੂੰ ਬਾਬਾ ਬਣ ਗਿਆ they told me one day ਹਰਮਨ ਸਿੰਘ ਤੂੰ ਬਾਬਾ ਬਣ ਗਿਆ and ਲੰਬੀ ਦਾੜੀ ਆ people looking and say ਆ ਬਾਬਾ ਆ ਗਿਆ and ਇਸੇ ਕਥਾ ਕਰਕੇ ਨਾ after you do ਕਥਾ ਫਤਿਹ ਬੁਲਾ ਕੇ in your mind ਵਾਰ ਇਹ ਪੰਕਤੀ ਪੜ੍ਹੀ ਜਾਣੀ ਕਹੋ ਨਾਨਕ ਸਭ ਤੇਰੀ ਵਡਿਆਈ ਕੋਈ ਨਾਮ ਨਾ ਜਾਣਾ ਮੇਰਾ ਉਦੋਂ ਭਗਤ ਜੀ ਨੇ ਇਹ ਪੰਕਤੀ ਪੜ੍ਹਾ ਕੇ for 3 ਦਿਨ ਲਗਾਤਾਰ ਬਾਟੇ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਨੇ ਮੰਜਾਏ ਸੀਗੇ and like not even ਬਾਟੇ that are like
big ਬਾਟੇ
like ਛੋਟੇ ਬਾਟੇ big ਬਾਟੇ but the brand new ones that are filled with rust like the brand new ਬਾਟੇ that haven't been used yet so you have the nimbu you have the vinegar you have the sand you have this and like ਇੱਥੇ ਤੱਕ ਵੀ ਜੀ the fingerprints on our fingers they went away so I was like we literally looked at it and I was like Bhagavad Ji literally got us to lose our identity like such like our fingerprints are gone है ना ਤੇ ਉਹ ਮਾਂਜ ਕੇ ਇਹੀ ਪੜ੍ਹੀ ਗਏ ਕਹੋ ਨਾਨਕ ਸਭ ਤੇਰੀ ਵਡਿਆਈ ਫਿਰ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਨੇ ਕਿਹਾ ਹਰਮਨ ਸਿੰਘ ਜਦੋਂ ਤੂੰ ਸਟੇਜ ਤੋਂ ਫਤਿਹ ਬੁਲਾਈ ਨਾ and you walk off stage and you're sitting in the ਦਰਬਾਰ ਜਿੰਨਾ ਚਿਰ ਤੂੰ ਜਾ ਕੇ ਦਰਬਾਰ 'ਚੋਂ ਨਿਕਲਦਾ ਨਹੀਂ ਜਾਂ ਤੂੰ ਆਪਣਾ ਘਰੇ ਨਹੀਂ ਪਹੁੰਚਦਾ ਮਨ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਬਸ ਇਹੀ ਪੰਕਤੀ like even you might be talking with people ਕਈ ਵਾਰੀ ਸੰਗਤ ਨਾਲ ਮਿਲਣਾ ਪਰ ਮਨ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਰੱਟਾ ਲਾਈ ਜਾਣਾ ਕਹੋ ਨਾਨਕ ਸਭ ਤੇਰੀ ਵਡਿਆਈ ਕਿਉਂ ਨਾ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਜਿਹੜਾ ਮੇਰਾ ਕਹੋ ਨਾਨਕ ਸਭ ਤੇਰੀ ਵਡਿਆਈ ਕਿਉਂ ਨਾ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਜਿਹੜਾ ਮੇਰਾ ਜੇ ਤੂੰ ਇਹ ਕਰੂੰਗਾ ਤੇਰੇ ਕਥਾ ਕਰਦਿਆਂ ਕਦੇ ਹੰਕਾਰ ਨਹੀਂ ਆਊਗਾ
I was about to say they've done that to keep you grounded completely
yeah.
But that's why the teachings of the sadhus are essential.
That's the sadhus, exactly.
Because without that, it's a bit hankar, but the other things happen and bigger and better than the.
Both.
No, that's. What resources and inspiration within North America are there for Basis Sikhi at the moment?
We have a team in Toronto. Again, where we're developing, they do a lot of. I guess courses and camps and local classes with the team there. BC, in the past we've done courses. We're going to be reestablishing that as well. In New York area, we actually run a camp, which is a very small local camp. It's called Camp Panth. It's the 4th time we're doing it now, and it's basically just a Vidya camp. You come there, it's a Katha camp. You go there with the intention to learn. And sometimes only 15-20 people, 30 people. It's open to everybody. But again, we just put it out in a way where only Jigyasus hear about it and they learn about it and they come and attend. We still advertise it. Koi bhi aa sakda. No registration fees, nothing.
Set topics or?
हाँ,
Is it
थोड़ा
based
बहुत
on Jagyasus? Or?
हाँ, थोड़ा based on them as well. Bhai Supreet Singh is
Yeah.
going to be joining us full time as a pracharak.
Okay.
He's an engineer in New York right now.
I've heard him on the Discord a couple of times.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes, yes. So he's going to be joining us full time as well in New York area. So Virji and a couple of the other Singhs, and Perna, they actually run these sort of camps in California. We have Bhai Harsimranjit Singh ji.
Yeah.
He's a great leader, and he's running the weekly classes at Riverside Gurdwara. Sundays around 2 p.m. I think.
Yeah.
And so we have pockets of these speakers being developed so we can send them out.
Yeah.
And then I think my goal was that I take inspiration from Bhai Jatinder Singh from Abbotsford Gurmat Center. Basically, there's one person doing a task, or you can orchestrate 100 people doing that task, and you can get that task done 99 times better.
Yeah.
It's more effective, and then those 100 will go and do more. The plan is to be able to orchestrate all of these great speakers and these leaders to be able to go out to hit every pocket of North America, because we're so widespread.
Yes. Yeah.
Right? Because Tika, we might be in Sacramento, but that's still 2.5 hours from Fresno.
Yeah.
Right?
It is, yeah.
And that's still another 2 hours from like Bay Area. That's still, so even Tika, we say, well, we got a guy in California, but
California's massive. It's bigger than the UK.
Yeah, it's bigger than the
Yes.
UK, exactly. So ਉਹ ਇੱਕ ਚੀਜ਼ ਠੀਕ ਹੈ, we have here we have Bhai Baljeet Singh, Bhai Sukhdeep Singh ji, Bhai Mandeep Singh ji, ਹੋਰ ਵੀ other ਸੇਵਾਦਾਰ, Bhai Amandeep Singh doing Seva here. Malaysia ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਬੀਬੀ ਗੁਰਪ੍ਰੀਤ ਕੌਰ gem, absolute gem she is. And she is holding the ground, doing a lot of Seva there. We got a few Sevadars in Australia as well now.
Okay.
So we're starting to branch out. Because of COVID, it allowed us to step back, recess, refocus, and then create a strong cloud.
Yeah.
ਠੀਕ ਹੈ, ਹੁਣ ਮੋਰੀ ਰੁਣ ਚੁਣ ਲਾਇਆ ਭੈਣੇ ਸਾਵਣਾ, we need to make it rain now, ਹੈ ਨਾ?
Well, that's it. You've got the overarching people everywhere.
Yes.
To reach out. So you've created a network within a network anyway.
Yes. And we want to continue doing that, right? That's the goal.
Yeah, no, that's great. Let's see. Is there a specific incident that has promoted you to carry out Seva?
Somebody asked me when I was younger, what is your why, right? It's like career questions. People say, what is the purpose of your life?
Yeah.
What is it that, and I would say I want to help somebody. Like ਜਿੱਦਾਂ ਸਿੱਖਿਆ ਮਿਲੀ ਸੀਗੀ ਗੁਰਮਤਿ ਦੀ, and ਇਹੀ ਹੈ ਕਿ ਕਿਸੇ ਦੀ ਮਦਦ ਕੀਤੀ ਜਾਵੇ ਤਾਂ ਚੰਗੀ ਗੱਲ ਆ, right? So ਜੇ ਤਾਂ ਮੈਂ ਆਪਦਾ ਹੀ ਕੀਤਾ ਗਿਆ, I can make money, I can have a big house, that's not really my why. Our purpose is ਕਿ ਹਾਂ ਕਾਲ ਕਾਏ ਕਿ ਛੱਤੋਂ ਦੇ ਨਾਨਕ ਰਾਹ ਪਛਾਣਿਆ ਸੀ, we want to give to other people as well. So I ਸੋਚਿਆ ਕਿ I want to help people. The thing is, then they ask the question, how did somebody help you? So like, yeah, ठीक है, somebody fed me langar, but that's not my flip point of my life.
Yeah.
Somebody gave me clothes, that's not the flip point of my life. Somebody took me to a hockey game or a soccer game, that's not the flip point of my life. What is the flip point of my life? When someone came and dropped a diamond of Sikhi, into my life. उन्होंने ਮੈਨੂੰ ਸਿੱਖਿਆ ਦਿੱਤੀ.
Yeah.
And that changed my life. So then ਜਿਹੜੀ ਚੀਜ਼ ਨਾਲ ਮੇਰੀ ਜ਼ਿੰਦਗੀ ਬਦਲੀ ਆ, ਮੈਂ ਹੀ ਉਹੀ ਦੇਣਾ ਚਾਹੁੰਦਾ. I want to continue that onwards.
Yeah.
Is there a specific moment for that? Yes, when that conversation had, but that's not like the moment because it was already instilled before. I think ਉਦਾਂ ਚਲੋ ਗੱਲਾਂ ਮੈਂ ਸਾਂਝੀਆਂ ਨਹੀਂ ਕਰਦਾ ਹੁੰਦਾ, ਤੇ ਆਪਾਂ ਉਦਾਂ ਭਰਾ ਬੈਠੇ ਆ ਤੇ ਗੱਲ ਚੱਲੀ ਆ, ਮੈਂ ਸਾਂਝੇ ਕਰ ਦਿੰਦਾ. ਮੈਨੂੰ ਨਾ ਛੋਟਿਆਂ ਹੁੰਦਿਆਂ ਬਹੁਤ ਚਾਅ ਹੁੰਦਾ ਸੀਗਾ ਇੱਕ ਬਾਣੇ ਦਾ. ਠੀਕ ਹੈ, ਗੁਰੂ ਦਾ ਰੂਪ ਆ ਇਹ ਆ, ਤੇ ਮੈਨੂੰ ਚੋਲਾ ਕਿਤੇ ਮਿਲਦਾ ਨਹੀਂ ਸੀਗਾ, ਤੇ ਮੈਨੂੰ ਇੱਦਾਂ ਲੱਗਦਾ ਸੀਗਾ ਕਿ ਮੇਰੇ ਤੋਂ ਚੋਲਾ ਪਾਇਆ ਨਹੀਂ ਜਾਣਾ, ਨਾ ਵਰਦੀ ਹੈ ਆਲ ਦੈਟ. ਪਰ ਗੁਰੂ ਸਾਹਿਬ ਨੇ, ਕਿਉਂਕਿ ਮੇਰੀ ਇੱਛਾ ਸੀਗੀ, ਮੇਰਾ ਰਾਹ ਸੀਗਾ, ਭਾਵਨਾ ਦੇਖ ਕੇ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਨੇ ਮੈਨੂੰ ਫਲ ਦੇ ਦਿੱਤਾ. ਠੀਕ ਹੈ, ਸੋ ਦੈਟਸ ਵਨ ਐਗਜ਼ਾਮਪਲ ਆਫ ਦ ਚੋਲਾ. ਸਿੰਘਾਂ ਨੇ, ਜਿਹੜੇ ਸਿੰਘ ਮੈਨੂੰ I haven't seen before or after ਕਦੇ ਵੀ, I don't want to jump to conclusions that they're Shaheed Singhs or anything like that, ਹੈ ਨਾ, ਤੇ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਨੇ ਮੈਨੂੰ ਆ ਕੇ ਚੋਲੇ ਦਿੱਤੇ. ਠੀਕ ਹੈ, ਤੇ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਨੇ ਬਾਬਾ ਦਰਸ਼ਨ ਸਿੰਘ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਦੇ ਕਮਰੇ 'ਚ ਆ ਕੇ ਰੱਖ ਦਿੱਤੇ ਸੀਗੇ. ਮੈਂ ਭੱਜਿਆ ਗਿਆ ਤੇ ਮੈਂ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਨੂੰ ਜਾ ਕੇ ਕਿਹਾ ਕਿ ਬਾਬਾ ਜੀ ਸਿੰਘ ਚੋਲੇ ਰੱਖ ਕੇ, ਉਹ ਕਹਿੰਦੇ ਹਾਂ ਚੋਲੇ ਪਏ ਆ. ਦੈਟਸ ਵਨ ਇੰਸਟੈਂਸ. ਦੂਸਰੀ ਗੱਲ ਮੈਨੂੰ ਚੇਤਾ ਸੀਗਾ, ਨਗਰ ਕੀਰਤਨ ਹੋਇਆ. ਆਫਟਰ ਨਗਰ ਕੀਰਤਨ ਹਵਾ ਬੜੀ ਚੱਲ ਰਹੀ ਸੀਗੀ, ਐਂਡ ਹਨੇਰੀ ਆ ਗਈ ਸੀ ਆਫਟਰ ਨਗਰ ਕੀਰਤਨ. ਸੋ ਐਵਰੀਬਡੀਜ਼ ਇਨ ਦ ਗੁਰਦੁਆਰਾ, ਬਾਕੀ ਸਾਰੇ ਖਿੰਡ ਗਏ, ਆਪਣੇ ਘਰੋਂ ਚਲੇ ਗਏ. ਐਂਡ ਬਟ ਆਮ ਸਟਿਲ ਦੇਅਰ ਆਊਟਸਾਈਡ ਐਂਡ ਪਿਕਿੰਗ ਅਪ ਦ ਗਾਰਬੇਜ ਆਫਟਰ ਦ ਨਗਰ ਕੀਰਤਨ, ਹੈ ਨਾ. ਚੱਕੀ ਜਾ ਰਹੀ ਸੀ. ਮੈਂ ਕਿਹਾ Guru Sahib, ਉਹਦੇ ਮਨ 'ਚ ਜਿੱਦਾਂ ਨਹੀਂ, you're like a careless child. And sometimes you need to just let go and just give yourself to the Guru. In whatever seva you're doing, if you're just scrubbing at the toilets, just scrub, just become pagal and scrubbing away. Huh? I think people don't realize you just become pagal whenever you want.
You become intoxicated in the seva that
become a divanna. So man, chakki ga, main chalo one more can, one more styrofoam cup, one more, main chakki ga. To the extent that tents were all being blown away, nobody's outside. I was like, how come there's a gurdwara, nagar kirtan just happened, nobody outside, in neri chal raha. The jade aa mera hath ithon to lage the became purple, like frostbite and all that. But I was like, in my mind, ਆ ਜਿਹੜੇ 2 ਉਂਗਲਾਂ ਹੱਲੇ ਵੀ ਚੱਕ ਸਕਦੀਆਂ, because I could remove these fingers, but I could still use them. So I was like, Maharaj, ਤੁਸੀਂ ਹੱਲੇ ਵੀ ਬਲ ਬਖਸ਼ਿਆ ਆ, ਮਤਲਬ ਮੈਂ ਹਾਰ ਡਿੱਗੀ ਨਹੀਂ ਹੱਲੇ, ਹਨਾ. So then if I give up now, that's my mat that I'm giving up. So ਮੈਂ ਚੱਕੀ ਗਿਆ ਤੇ ਮੈਂ ਚੱਕਦਾ until I couldn't move it anymore. ਮੈਂ ਕਿਹਾ ਚਲੋ ਜਿੰਨਾ ਚੱਕ, ਮੈਂ ਕਿਹਾ ਚਲੋ there's no harj in taking a 20-minute break. ਮੈਂ ਲੰਗਰ ਹਾਲ 'ਚ ਗਿਆ, and ਉੱਥੇ ਵੱਡੀਆਂ ਭੈਣਾਂ ਸੀਗੀਆਂ, so they knew I was a pagal kid like this. So ਮੇਰੇ ਆਲੇ ਦੁਆਲੇ, they're like, Harman, ਉਹ ਆ ਕੀ ਕੀਤਾ ਤੂੰ, ਲੈ ਤੈਨੂੰ ਪਤਾ ਨਹੀਂ ਹੈ, ਆ ਬਾਂਹ ਇੱਥੋਂ like purple, they like wrapped it around, they put like, they're like, you can't put it in hot water now because it's iceberg, so they actually put it under cold water. Then they like wrapped it and they put like heat on it and this and that, and then they brought me garm dod and this and that, and they're like, what are you thinking, tu pagal ho gaya? मैं बस सोचा like नहीं, I was just like, Maharaj was getting me to do the seva. So मतलब उस चीज़ ਦਾ ਵੀ मैं ਚੱਕੀ ਗਿਆ I feel ਉਸ ਦਾ ਫਲ ਮੈਨੂੰ ਹੁਣ ਜਿੱਥੇ ਮੈਂ ਜਾਣਾ, I'm a grieved person, ਮੈਂ ਜਿੱਥੇ ਜਾਣਾ I feel like ਸੰਗਤ ਚੱਕ ਲੈਂਦੀ ਤੈਨੂੰ ਕਥਾ, ਤੈਨੂੰ ਸਟੇਜ ਤੇ ਬਿਠਾਉਣਾ ਆ. So I feel like ਕਿਉਂਕਿ ਮੈਂ ਅਨਥੱਕ ਉੱਖ ਦੇ ਜਾ ਕੇ, it was one day, it was 2 hours, ਕੋਈ ਗੱਲ ਨਹੀਂ, ਪਰ ਸਾਰੀ ਜ਼ਿੰਦਗੀ ਮੈਨੂੰ ਉਸ ਚੀਜ਼ ਦਾ, why do I feel I'm getting the fall of that? ਹਨਾ. ਜਾਂ ਮੈਂ ਜਦੋਂ ਬਾਬਾ ਜੀ ਹੁਣਾਂ ਦੇ ਆਪਾਂ ਜਾ ਕੇ ਪੈਰ ਘੁੱਟਣੇ, ਨਮਸਕਾਰਾਂ ਕਰਨੀਆਂ ਆ, ਅਤੇ ਮਤਲਬ ਜਦੋਂ ਉਦੋਂ ਮਨ ਥੱਕਦਾ ਸੀਗਾ, now we're traveling from place to place, ਹੁਣ ਥਕੇਮਾ ਹੁੰਦਾ ਨਹੀਂ ਹੈ, ਹੈ ਨਾ. ਅਤੇ ਮੈਂ ਕਿਹਾ ਮਹਾਰਾਜ ਬਾਬਾ ਜੀ ਨੇ ਉਦੋਂ ਸਾਰਾ ਥਕੇਮਾ ਲਾਤਾ, ਅਤੇ 2 ਘੰਟਿਆਂ ਕਰਕੇ ਸਾਰੀ ਜ਼ਿੰਦਗੀ ਸਫਲ ਹੋ ਗਈ. It's mind blowing. So kind of like, look, there's no power in mine in it. It's just the fact that look at the value of sadhu and the sangat and the prosan Guru Sahib has. So when so in these slight little experiences, I'm sure like yourself or many other great Guru Sikhs, they have much bigger and better experiences, but kind of the matlab hai ki oh nikiyan cheezaਂ ਕਰਕੇ I feel that this is why I'm on this path, that's why I want to do seva, kyunki I felt that Guru is ang sang, mera Guru naal hai, hai na, ang sang Guru ang sang,
definitely. With regards to your katha, I know you've been promoting the Nanak Prakash katha that's been going on. You've been doing that from place to place. What are your future plans? I know Nanak Prakash katha is coming to an end, so what are your future plans with regards to katha, granths?
So I think Pur Bharat ਹੁਣ ਹੋਣ ਵਾਲਾ ਹੀ ਹੈ ਤਕਰੀਬਨ, ਤੇ ਉਤਰਾਰਧ ਸ਼ੁਰੂ ਕਰ ਦੇਣਾ ਆ. So halfway. So
you're nearly at the point where Guru Nanak Dev Ji going towards
ਬਸ ਸਿੱਧਾ ਨਾਲ ਗੋਰਖਨਾਥ ਨਾਲ ਕਰਕੇ that's where they're going, through ਪ੍ਰਹਲਾਦ ਵੱਲ ਜਾਣਾ ਹੈ, they're going to go to their ਦੇਸ਼. ਸੋ ਅੱਧ ਤੱਕ ਵਿੱਚ ਆ ਜਾਂਦਾ ਹੈ ਨਾ. ਸੋ ਉਸ ਤੋਂ ਬਾਅਦ ਠੀਕ ਹੈ ਇੱਥੇ ਤੱਕ ਕਰਦੇ ਹਾਂ. ਹੁਣ like because of the tour, ਜਾਂ ਸੇਵਾ ਜਿੱਥੇ ਸੀਗੀ, I took about a 2.5 month break from that seva, so every Friday and Saturday on Zoom we do, how that katha actually started. Before I get into future plans, I'll tell you how it started. Singhs came and did a benti to me from Vancouver, and they, Chandi Charitar da, we don't know what this means, theek hai. The Mac has at this time it's really hard to explain everything to you guys. Edi katha hi sunni pendi hai, like sanu katha kara ke ਸੁਣਾ ਦਿਓ ਤੁਸੀਂ. ਮੈਂ ਕਿਹਾ ਚਲੋ ਇੱਦਾਂ ਕਰ ਲੈਂਦੇ ਹਾਂ, like I get an opportunity to like do ਵਿਚਾਰ of ਚੰਡੀ ਚਰਿੱਤਰ as well. ਸੋ ਅਸੀਂ ਬੈਠੇ ਓਵਰ ਜ਼ੂਮ, ਅਤੇ ਹੋਰ ਵੀ ਮਹਾਂਕਾਲ ਸਿੰਘ ਵੀ, ਬਾਬਾ ਬਜਿੱਤਰ ਸਿੰਘ ਜੀ ਹੁਣੇ ਸਾਰੇ ਬੈਠੇ ਸੀਗੇ, ਅਤੇ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਨੂੰ ਮੈਂ ਕੈਲਗਰੀ ਤੋਂ ਬੈਠ ਕੇ ਓਵਰ ਜ਼ੂਮ twice a week, Tuesdays and Thursdays, I would teach them. I would teach them the we would just do sing, ਉੱਥੋਂ ਪਾਠ ਕਰਦਾ ਸੀਗਾ from there, ਅਤੇ ਮੈਂ ਇੱਧਰੋਂ ਮੈਂ ਕਥਾ ਕਰਦਾ ਸੀਗਾ. ਐਂਡ ਸੋ ਉਹ ਮਤਲਬ ਕਹਿ ਲਓ ਮਹੀਨੇ 1.5 ਮਹੀਨੇ 'ਚ ਪੂਰੀ ਕਰਤੀ, ਠੀਕ ਹੈ. ਚੰਡੀ ਚਰਿੱਤਰ ਪਹਿਲਾ ਜਿਹੜਾ ਸੀਗਾ, ਜਿਹੜਾ ਲੰਬਾ ਆ, ਹਾਂ. ਅਤੇ ਉਹ ਕਰਕੇ ਫਿਰ ਮਤਲਬ ਸਿੰਘਾਂ ਨੇ ਬੇਨਤੀ ਕੀਤੀ ਕਿ ਚਲੋ ਇਹ ਹੋ ਗਿਆ ਆ, ਅਤੇ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਹੁਣ ਸਾਨੂੰ ਹੋਰ ਕੁਛ ਵੀ ਸਿਖਾ ਦਿਓ ਅਗਲਾ. ਸੋ ਦੋਜ਼ ਥਿੰਗਸ ਐਕਚੁਅਲੀ ਲਾਈਕ I forgot what did you start after that. I think ਸਾਰ ਕਿਤਾਬਲੀ ਸ਼ੁਰੂ ਕੀਤੀ ਸੀ ਉਸ ਤੋਂ ਬਾਅਦ, ਅਤੇ Sarakutavli, so that the Sarakutavli, Pavara Samrati Vedanta, so that became a different class that stuck to the Tuesdays, Thursdays. But ਜਿਹੜੇ ਕੁਝ ਸਿੰਘ ਸੀਗੇ ਉਹ ਕਹਿੰਦੇ ਸਾਨੂੰ ਇਤਿਹਾਸ ਨਾਲ ਜ਼ਿਆਦਾ ਪ੍ਰੇਮ ਆ.
Yeah, of course. Because we were having this conversation the other day. Because people can picture the Sargun aspects of what's taking place.
ਤੇ ਜੋ ਜਿਹੜੀ ਸਾਰੀ ਸਿੱਖਿਆ ਆ vedanta ਛੋਟੇ ਗ੍ਰੰਥਾਂ ਚ ਲਿਖੀ ਉਹ ਸਾਰੀ ਉਹਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਆ ਜਾਂਦੀ. It comes in 50
granths are in
yeah. And then so ਮੈਂ ਕਿਹਾ ਨਾਨਕ ਪ੍ਰਕਾਸ਼ ਸ਼ੁਰੂ ਕਰ ਲੈਂਦੇ ਆ. And what we actually wanted to do was we wanted to do it on YouTube. And we wanted to create it, and we wanted to have like the animations come, obviously not Maharaj moving, but all the animations coming along. It was such a well thought out and intense project. Problem is there's so many projects that we're doing that are all kitchi hoye that we couldn't focus all that and the planning on when it could done. So it could have been years before something like that was released, but that's like the masterpiece that could have been created. So it would have been like Tika, I don't it's not like Pankti for Pankti, but I do the arth of Pankti. So I'm literally reading out Nanak Prakash in the form of a prasang, like every detail, niki cheej. And it's being voiceovered, and then the animations are coming up in front. So it's like you're watching like almost like a movie of Maharaj coming together. And sometimes where you can't show an image of Maharaj, you wish facilitate it with like a light or a jot or something, or just in the form of like pani chal rahi or hawa chal rahi hai. So it just becomes a very visual, auditory experience of just say you're feeling Maharaj. But kyunki we still want to do that. I know we got an animator saying we got all of these things available. But then we thought like we can't delay. Chakadu fate nehbilam tarmang blam papang they were chakadu fate, that sort of mentality. We can't wait 2 years, 3 years. We live that long or not.
That's the problem.
So then we just like zoomed it. COVID happened, people were free, and we said time to do katha. So Friday, Saturday we started doing it. And initially when we started it, we don't know if we can sustain it twice a week. So it was once a week we wanted to do it then, but while we're in COVID or lockdown, might as well continue it twice a week. So Tuesday, Thursday dusri vidya class chaldi rahi, baki dina santhya, Friday, Saturday we had katha. And ode vichon, so all those original things actually switched out and became busy, but hor badi sangat aa gayi. And that were interested in that. I think 2 saal ho gaya katha chaldi nu, plus like a few months break that we took in between, so 1.5 saal la lo. And now hor 1.5 saal de vich apan samapti kar deni hai. And ਉਸ ਤੋਂ ਬਾਅਦ ਮਾਰਾ ਕਿਰਪਾ ਕਰਨ, ideally the easiest thing was Guru Angad Dev Ji Suru Prakash ਸ਼ੁਰੂ ਕਰ ਦੋ and continue on from there. ਜਾਂ ਆਪਾਂ strategize ਕਰਕੇ ਆਪਾਂ ਮਤਲਬ 6ਵੀਂ ਪੋਥੀ ਤੇ ਜਾ ਸਕਦੇ ਹਾਂ, 10ਵੀਂ ਪੋਥੀ ਤੇ ਜਾ ਸਕਦੇ ਹਾਂ, then come to Guru Angad Dev Ji ਦੇਖਾਂਗੇ. ਪਰ ਜੇ ਵਿਧੀ ਬਣੀ ਹੋਈ ਆ ਲਗਾਤਾਰ ਹੀ ਚੱਲ if that's a thing that can continue, then why not continue? Kyunki Sangat Maharaj di kirpa na, we have those that are not even into Sikhi coming in and listening to the katha. We've got a team of pattis. There's a 6 to 7 pattis that they rotate out every day, and they put in the group that I'm going to do patti seva, I'm going to do patti seva. So they sit on Zoom and they read the part, and then oh part karde, and then I'm very strict on get tusi part idan karna, so a delay nahi pauna, because on Zoom, because sometimes that delay throws the katha off, right? If I say Anji, Anji, like come on, chiti pado, no. So you get that Gyani Gusa, what they call it, Parchidi.
That's it. You hear from Gyani Parchidi all the time. He's shouting his parties all the time.
So, but even despite the katha, una da part da abhyas hoyi janda, right? And these are the things that just with one seva, I'm getting my enjoyment and my ras of doing the katha. Parties are getting to listen to the katha, and they're getting their abhyas of the granth. In the future they can be doing katha of it as well. And then you have all of these like people that are coming in, joining from the UK. They're waking up in the UK. It actually ends up being 2 a.m.
Right? When you're coming in
like
from a night
3 a.m. Because according to their in North American time, we have to do it in the evening. Because before actually this is the thing, everything that we tried to do before was always based on UK time, because the rest of the organization is based here.
But it's too early.
But for this, we were like forget it.
But you can't. You can't. You got to look at the Sunday that you're trying to.
Forget the UK. We're focusing on California. California time, New York time, and then with that we got Malaysia guys involved. We got Australia times. It worked out during the day, and that worked out early morning for India, which was the best. So if it's like 9 p.m. there, it's also going to be 7 a.m. or 9 a.m. there. So before they go to work, they're all tuning in.
That's
right. So we got a couple Gorian listening to as well. One time Akali showed up and she started listening to Katha, and then we have a Q&A after it. And some people just show up for the Q&A.
That's the best part. That's the best part. I always think Q&A is the best part, because where there's any dubda in the house, or
Yes.
they don't understand it, or something is beyond somebody's comprehension,
Yes.
you can clear those up.
Yeah, so ਉਹ ਸਾਰੀ ਅਸੀਂ ਮਤਲਬ ਹੁਣ ਕਥਾ ਮਤਲਬ ਇੰਨੀ ਹੋ ਗਈ ਆ, we're going to continue doing that. ਜੇ ਤੋਂ ਚੱਲ ਸਕਦੀ ਆ, why not, ਹੈ ਨਾ. ਹੁਣ ਠੀਕ ਹੈ, ਥੋੜੀ ਟੂਰ ਕਰਕੇ ਥੋੜੀ ਬ੍ਰੇਕ ਲੈਣੀ ਪਈ ਆ. In this meantime, ਭਾਈ ਸੁਪ੍ਰੀਤ ਸਿੰਘ did ਸ੍ਰੀ ਗੁਰ ਕਥਾ, ਹੈ ਨਾ, in those 2 months, ਹੈ ਨਾ. ਕਿਉਂਕਿ ਥੋੜਾ ਛੋਟਾ ਆ, ਪਰ ਭਾਈ ਜੱਤਾ ਜੀ ਦਾ ਜਿਹੜਾ ਸਾਰਾ ਜੀਵਨ ਹੈ ਉਹਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਲਿਖਿਆ ਹੋਇਆ ਕਿਵੇਂ ਹੋਇਆ ਆ. So they got an opportunity to do that. ਭਾਈ ਸੁਪ੍ਰੀਤ ਸਿੰਘ also doing job ਸਾਹਿਬ ਕਥਾ every Sunday morning, ਹੈ ਨਾ. So ਕਹਿੰਦਾ ਮਤਲਬ ਇਹਦੇ ਪ੍ਰੋਜੈਕਟ ਬੜੇ ਚੱਲ ਰਹੇ ਆ. So now project we take we got 30, 40, 50 people joining there live. Parties are being trained, and on top of that then we put it on SoundCloud, and then you have hundreds of people listening to it on there, right? 100, 200, 300 and ਦਰਬਾਰ 'ਚ ਬਿਠਾਉਣੇ ਆਨੰਦ ਪ੍ਰਕਾਸ਼ ਕਥਾ. ਗੁਰਦੁਆਰੇ 'ਚ ਕੀ ਹੁੰਦਾ ਸੀਗਾ, ਕਥਾ ਕਰਨੀ, ਟਾਈਮ ਚੇਂਜ ਹੋ ਗਿਆ, ਅੱਗੇ ਪਿੱਛੇ ਹੋ ਗਿਆ, ਨਹੀਂ ਪਤਾ ਐਤਕੀ ਕੈਂਸਲ ਕਰਨਾ ਪੈਣਾ, ਬਾਹਰੋਂ ਢਾਡੀ ਆਇਆ, ਆ ਨਹੀਂ ਹੋਇਆ ਫਲਾਣਾ. So and then the sangat is having to come there. So online allowed us to really range out or the amount of projects that we get to do and the amount of katha that we do. But that can't remove the physical element of why physical katha is necessary, है ना. ਉਸ ਤੋਂ ਬਾਅਦ ਹੁਣ ਫਿਜ਼ੀਕਲੀ ਜਾ ਕੇ ਸੰਗਤ ਨੂੰ ਮਿਲਦਾ ਇੰਨਾ ਪ੍ਰੇਮ ਆ, the connection, ਦਰਬਾਰ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਬੈਠ ਕੇ ਕਥਾ ਕਰਨਾ ਇੰਨਾ ਰਸ ਆਉਂਦਾ, ਵੱਖਰੀ ਗੱਲ ਹੈ ਮਹਾਰਾਜ ਦੀ ਹਜ਼ੂਰੀ ਵਿੱਚ. ਸੋ ਇਹ ਸਾਰੀਆਂ ਗੱਲਾਂ ਹੁਣ ਦੇਖਦੇ ਹਾਂ. ਹਾਂ, ਗੋਲ ਹੋਊਗਾ ਗੁਰੂ ਅੰਗਦ ਦੇਵ ਜੀ ਮਹਾਰਾਜ ਦਾ ਇਤਿਹਾਸ ਜੇ ਅੱਗੇ ਕਰ ਸਕਦੇ ਹਾਂ, ਡਿਪੈਂਡ ਹੋ, ਕਿਉਂਕਿ ਹੋਰ ਵੀ ਸਿੰਘਾਂ ਦੇ, ਮਹਾਂਕਾਲ ਸਿੰਘਾਂ ਦੇ ਬਚਨ ਹੋਏ ਸੀਗੇ, ਹੁਕਮ ਹੋਇਆ ਸੀਗਾ ਕਹਿ ਸਕਦੇ, ਕਹਿੰਦੇ ਪੰਥ ਪ੍ਰਕਾਸ਼ ਦੀ ਵੀ ਕਥਾ ਕਰੋ. ਸੋ ਆਈ ਵਾਂਟ ਟੂ ਫਿਟ ਇਨ ਪੰਥ ਪ੍ਰਕਾਸ਼ ਕਥਾ ਸਮਵੇਅਰ ਇਨ ਦੇਅਰ, ਹੈ ਨਾ. ਥੋੜ੍ਹਾ ਜੋਸ਼ ਜਿਹਾ ਵੀ ਭਰ ਜਾਂਦਾ, ਕੌਨਫੀਡੈਂਸ, ਐਂਡ ਪੰਥ ਵਿੱਚ ਥੋੜ੍ਹਾ ਢਿੱਲੇ ਪਏ ਆ ਕੋਵਿਡ ਤੋਂ ਬਾਅਦ ਸਾਰੇ.
That's not the easiest katha to do.
ਵਾਹਿਗੁਰੂ.
I find, ਇਤਿਹਾਸ ਦੀ ਕਥਾ, the shuns and they're not as difficult as Gurpratap.
ਵਾਹਿਗੁਰੂ.
But you read the Pothis, there's like 3 or 4 different definitions, or the way that they talk about the Ittihas itself.
So it
needs a lot of further research before you do it as well.
Basically, you just have to understand the mind of Ratan Singh.
Of course you do, and that's what you got to do. Before somebody goes, I don't really read this, but that's they come from Bhai Singh's family, this is how it is, Bhai Singh did this, and this is where they come in, and they were putting this together for the British, it was wrong, and this is how it happened. So but it's that would be really good. It would be really, really good. So no, I look forward to that.
We also Bhai Gurdas ਦੀਆਂ 40 ਵਾਰਾਂ ਆ, ਠੀਕ ਹੈ, and those 40 ਵਾਰਾਂ total of 913 ਪੌੜੀਆਂ, ਠੀਕ ਹੈ. So ਉਹਦੀ ਵੀ ਕਥਾ ਉਸ ਦੀ ਕਬਿਤ ਸੋਈ ਹੈ 675 ਕਬਿਤ ਸੋਈ ਹੈ,
that's massive,
ਹੈ ਨਾ. So I want to do katha of all of those, because it is katha in itself, right? It's just the analogy, right? Jaise taise ye, jaise wo, है ना. It's just the analogies that Bhai Gurdas ji gives throughout all of that. Kathai, nirali kathaiya, easy to do. You can turn those into videos. We want to get that out. We want to complete Guru Granth Sahib Ji's katha as well, and whole week like this. ਕਰੀ ਤੇ ਜਾ ਸਕਦੇ ਹਾਂ, but again, ਜਿੰਨਾ ਕੁਛ ਕਰਨਾ ਚਾਹੁੰਦੇ ਆ. What if instead of one mind doing it, you had 100 minds doing it?
No, that's it. If you've got the personnel to do it, and I think, like you said, Bhai Gurdas one is essential. We read Japji Sahib every day, Pavan Guru Pani Vita, and then Bhai Gurdas says Pavan Guru Guru Shabad Hai Raganath Vicharu. They open those things up, and explain what these are.
The ਹੁਣ ਕਈ ਸਿੰਘਾਂ ਨੇ ਮਹਾਰਾਜ ਦੀ ਕਿਰਪਾ ਨਾਲ over the last year, with Das included, we spent time with Gyani Gurvinder Singh Ji Nangali, ਤੇ ਅਸੀਂ ਸਾਰਾ ਉਹ ਭਾਈ ਨੰਦ ਲਾਲ ਜੀ ਦਾ ਪੜ੍ਹ ਕੇ ਹਟੇ, ਹੈ ਨਾ, ਗੰਜਨਾਮਾ ਸਾਰਾ ਗਜ਼ਲਾਂ ਪੜ੍ਹ ਕੇ ਹਟੇ, ਹੈ ਨਾ. ਸੋ ਉਹ ਪੜ੍ਹ ਕੇ ਹਟੇ. ਸੋ ਫਾਰਸੀ ਜਿਹੜੀ ਜਿੱਦਾਂ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਨੇ ਲਿਖਿਆ, like Indo-Persian, the style that they wrote, and ਕਿਵੇਂ ਕਿਹੜੇ ਸ਼ਬਦਾਂ ਦਾ we got to learn all of that, right? So the whole goal is we learn and then we continue teaching. We learn and we pass it on, and then they learn and then they pass it further on. That pranali, this is the definition of a samprada. Sine basine chalda aa raha, na.
And that's what you do. And everything you get, you don't retain, you pass on.
Exactly.
And that's what it is.
Hanji.
No, it's absolutely brilliant. How many Vidyarthis do you have at the moment?
In personally, I teach, I would probably have about 20, 25. Personally, like I teach, this is not including like Nana Prakash Katha, because that's just Sangati Roop. But jede hage like in the Vidyala, I think we have about 70, 80. students plus the waiting list that we can take on, but we want to iron out the system better to be able to bring them on and have them included. So initially when we set out, the goal was to have an onboarding every 3 months.
Yes.
Right. So every 3 months we take on students. New students, a new lot comes in. They go through their administrative phase, or
so you take on a cohort every 3 months.
Yeah, every 3 months. But then you say, well, I got burnt out, trial and error, right? So 6 months. Oh no, the first one happened. The second one happened a year later. Okay. The next one happened 6 months later. So we're reducing the time, holly. Okay. It's time for the next one coming up soon. So we'll let you guys know. Right?
No, that's fine. We'll be on when I need to recharge my battery. So that's fine.
Yeah.
No, that's absolutely. Quick question. You've talked about obviously teaching Vedanta class. Who taught you Vedanta?
ਸੋ ਕੁਝ ਕਈ ਵਿਦਵਾਨਾਂ ਤੋਂ ਸਿੱਖਿਆ, ਗਿਆਨੀ ਪ੍ਰਿਤਪਾਲ ਸਿੰਘ ਜੀ ਜਿਹੜੇ ਦੁਖਨਿਵਾਰਨ ਸਾਹਿਬ ਪਟਿਆਲੇ ਵਾਲੇ ਹਨ, ਦੁਖਨਿਵਾਰਨ ਸਾਹਿਬ, ਗਿਆਨੀ ਸ਼ੇਰ ਸਿੰਘ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਕੋਲੋਂ ਥੋੜ੍ਹੇ ਜਿਹੇ ਪੜ੍ਹੇ ਆ। ਹੋਰ ਵਿਦਾਂਤੀ ਜਿਹੜੇ ਸਵਾਮੀ ਨਿਰਮਲੇ, ਉਹਨਾਂ ਕੋਲੋਂ ਪੜ੍ਹੇ ਹੋਏ ਆ, ਹੈ ਨਾ, ਨਿਰਮਲੇ ਮਾਮ ਪੱਕਾਂ ਕੋਲੋਂ।
You went to ਗਿਆਨੀ ਗੁਰਵਿੰਦਰ ਸਿੰਘ, did you get Sandarshan Singh as well?
ਹਾਂ, ਮੈਂ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਕੋਲੋਂ ਮੈਂ ਆਪ ਵਿਦਿਆ ਹਾਲੇ ਨਹੀਂ ਪੜ੍ਹੀ, ਪਰ ਦਰਸ਼ਨ ਹੋਏ ਆ, ਸੰਗਤ ਕੀਤੀ ਆ, ਅਤੇ ਗਿਆਨੀ ਜੀ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਨੇ ਕਿਹਾ ਸੀ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਕੋਲੋਂ ਵਿਦਿਆ ਪੜ੍ਹਨੀ ਆ। ਹਾਂ, ਸੋ ਉਹਨੂੰ ਜਾ ਕੇ ਵਿਦਿਆ ਪੜ੍ਹਨੀ ਆ, ਅਤੇ ਸੋ ਮਹਾਰਾਜ ਕਿਰਪਾ, ਅਗੇਨ ਕੰਸਟੈਂਟਲੀ ਲਰਨਿੰਗ ਅਗੇਨ ਐਂਡ ਅਗੇਨ। ਹਾਂਜੀ,
ਪਰ ਸਿੱਖ ਦਾ ਇਹੀ ਅਰਥ ਹੁੰਦਾ ਹੈ ਨਾ, ਸਿੱਖ ਦਾ you are constantly learning, ਸਿੱਖ ਦਾ ਤਾਂ ਸਿੱਖ ਹੀ ਰਹਿਣਾ। No, that's great. I really appreciate you going through everything. Prior to ending the podcast, just want you to go through your social media accounts, because the whole purpose of this is for people to listen to this and go, I want to get on board this, I want to be on a cohort, I want to be able to do the Zoom calls. How do I access all these features? How do I access this katha? So if you can you just give us a couple of your social media accounts or where people can find these resources? Yeah, so I mean, we have our Basics of Sikhi main account. We have Basics of Sikhi North America account. You have my personal Instagram page, Harman Singh. You also have Bhai Supreet Singh's Instagram page, Bhai Supreet Singh. And then you can email us as well at canada@basicsofsikhi.com. Yeah.
You can get in touch with some of our Seva daughters if you meet them on the ground in North America and say, I want to get involved with this. And you were talking about anybody, Bhai Abid Singh, Bhai Jaskaran Singh, Bhai Simranjit Singh. If you guys know any of them, you can get in touch with them. Bibi Ekjot Kaur, all of the administrative, Panji, Bibi Pani Panji, Bibi Pani Kaur. So all of them, you can get in touch with them. Or when I'm in the area, approach me and I say, मैं विद्या सिखनी है, ते सिखना चाहते हैं, तो फिर सवाल जवाब करके we can get involved. We don't at the moment. We're going to have a newsletter that everybody can sign up to stay up to date whether you're in or out. If you can visit basicsofsikhi.com, and it'll list all of our projects that we do and how to sign up for our waiting list there as well. You can join. So if you go to the Basics of Sikhi Instagram page, there's the Nanak Prakash link.
Yes, there is.
Right, so you can click on that link, and in that link there you can also find the sign up for the Vidyala. You can click on that link, join us on Zoom, and continue the conversation there as well. The reason why we haven't made like instant easy is because we want to see a little bit of dedication. You need to chase a little bit.
Yeah, of course. You need to put the effort in.
Yeah.
Without the effort, there's no reward. If you give somebody something for free, they don't look at it or value it. Anyway.
Yeah. So just a little bit of a hurdle that you have to do just to get it, but let's see if you can do that.
No, that's fine.
Yeah.
I just want to say thank you very much for giving us your time. I know how precious it is at the moment. Do you have any questions for us with regards to this podcast or anything else?
नहीं जी, I know
That's good.
I mean, बहुत बड़ी सेवा कर रहे हैं in terms of these grants that you're translating and writing. I guess with Gurmat Vichar, where are you guys doing and where are you guys headed with that? And second thing, what is like your kind of like goal coming up with these as well?
both Gurmat Prachar and this pledges that I've took part and gone, right, I'll do this while the Sangat are there. Easiest thing to do would be to die, so I don't have to do any more of it. I'm tired. I've had 20 years of it. That's what I'd like to do. But Jinnah Chir Pran Hege, the whole purpose is to continue putting up Sampradayik Katha, Puratan Katha, anything that comes up. So I've got 20,000 files, Katha files to put up at the moment.
Yeah.
Got videos on top of that. The books is to continue on. The pledge is to make sure that a new book is released every second month. And I'm now looking at putting together a SoundCloud because I've got loads of Katha, loads of Kirtan, loads of Dadi Kavishar, which is not Sampradayik, which still needs to go out to Sangat as well. So we'll continue on. Jinnah Chir Maharaj allows us to. Right. I know you'll rush for time.
There's a program happening in about 30 minutes. Yeah.
That's what I said. 3:30 we were going to be finished. It's 4:30 now, and I really appreciate it. Bhai sir, Bhai Harman Singh, thank you very much. With regards to Flawed, Foolish and Fantastic, we really appreciate your time.
Waheguru Ji Ka Khalsa, Waheguru Ji Ki Fateh.